Welcome to MINDSHOCK. This is Flat Earth Live Q&A 13th edition. Welcome, everyone. We will be continuing to examine the Flat Earth topic, one of the most triggering in modern history. I mean, there's actually cope spiraling goofs who cope spiral for days on end on Twitter, and I like to laugh at them and expose their Dunning-Kruger goofery. But they go on for days on end and hallucinating that discussion on a topic means you believe in it. Obviously, this is MINDSHOCK. I do not claim anything is true or untrue. The motto here, of course, is the only thing we know for sure is that we don't know anything for sure. If you want to help support the podcast, help logic and reason to return to a world where it is quickly going extinct, and obviously Twitter, one of the greatest platforms to see that on. You can donate to our PayPal, check the link in the description. You can also become a YouTube member right here on YouTube, help support the channel that way. Make sure to subscribe, like, and share Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, and Patreon. And if you are with us here live, this is more of a, these are all more like chill stream hangouts than official Q&As, but drop any questions or topics in the chat. I try to get to all of them. So welcome, Chan Man Jackie Chan Fan. Is that the one and only Lord Zed? Can you at least put Lord Zed in your... I know you didn't want to just put Lord Zed because you had said that you were having some kind of harassing issues with that name, or whatever the case may be. I mean, or at least put LZ at the end or something like that so we can identify the legendary Lord Zed. Welcome, Run Boston Bear, Chin Chin, Christopher Allen, the one and only Justin Johnson. Been a little bit since I saw Justin Johnson in the chat. Welcome, Sarah Catherine, as well, another OG listener. Pinto Sack, the Fallen Slaves Us All. Aaron. Yeah, we got a lot of OGs in here today. Flat Earth NZ. Is that New Zealand? Are you based in New Zealand? How is New Zealand doing these days? And I have a major documentary to dissect. I forgot who sent it to me, but it is one of the most mind-shocking. And I believe in that one they were alleging not necessarily the ice wall, but Antarctica is extremely close to New Zealand, and there's all these flying restrictions in New Zealand to prevent anybody from actually exploring. I wonder if there's any truth to that. Chan Man Jackie Chan Fan says, I will be Lord Zed soon. Yes, appreciate the support, Flat Bob. I know you are going through a tough time as well. Sarah as well. Tragedy takes no days off. Chin Chin says the rotation of the Earth is making me dizzy. Well, Sarah, hopefully we can brighten your day here by exposing some goofery in typical MINDSHOCK fashion. Flat Bob as well. Hopefully we can bring some well-needed laughter. Pinto Sack says, what about all the nerds who work at launching and maintaining satellites? Is it possible the flat Earth has an orbit similar to the globe Earth? What do you mean by orbit? Flat Earth NZ says, yes, it is. It's not bad if you're out in the country. Yeah, I mean, the country pretty much everywhere is kind of nice. I mean, even in fallen countries like the UK, I mean, if you're way out in the country away from all the madness, I can imagine that's pretty decent. I mean, the US too. I mean, it's quickly falling as well, but the rural strongholds. I mean, I actually touched upon, I don't know if I want to get into this, because we're supposed to stick to flat Earth, although it's semi-related, I suppose. with governments. If the Earth is flat and there's some kind of government collusion to enslave the masses, then what I'm about to say is kind of relevant. I posted on Twitter, would this collapse of the West have occurred if true patriots really stood up during Ruby Ridge and Waco? Like, should that have been the line in the sand? When all the militias and all the freedom-loving true Americans stood for America. Because look at the soyification that has taken place in the nation since the early 90s. I mean, the average goof is obese. The average goof is TikTok, brain meltdown, non-functional. I mean, how are they going to fight back? Whereas in the early 90s, I mean, there were, I mean, obviously World War I and World War II and Vietnam, that took out a lot of able-bodied good men that could have potentially fought the corrupt system and bring America back to its glory. Although some argue it never had glory, but comparatively, like we're just comparing the amount of freedom 100 to 200 years ago compared to today, comparatively. If you haven't checked out the podcast I did on the conspiracy that the Revolutionary War wasn't truly won and a debt was owed to England and is still taken from people's taxes. That's a crazy one. Welcome, Tom Roseland. Is it Rosland or Roseland? Tom's kind of an OG too. I remember seeing you way back in the day, Tom. By the way, I did know somebody, I don't want to reveal too much. I don't want to reveal too much about quackademic backgrounds. I knew somebody who went to MIT who ended up working for NASA, and they were totally clueless to even the existence of conspiracies. Because everybody's working, everybody's working on what they're working on. They don't even have an inkling that there could even ever be a cover-up or conspiracy. So all the software they're working with, they assume it's representative of reality, even if it's not. So they would never know. Like, you actually have to ask the questions and investigate and apply the scientific method to figure it all out. That's why goofs like Joe Rogan, who just spam appeal to authority fallacies, are so utterly brain dead in not being able to comprehend that if the conspiracy is true, no, the majority would not have to be in on it, any more so than the majority of the military being in on a top secret operation, which is, for the general's eyes only in classified info. I mean, how many of the grunts have above top secret clearance? I mean, it's not rocket science. I don't know if Joe Rogan's playing stupid or if it's genuine mental disability. I mean, I don't know. But we will be examining what was requested in a recent interview on the Joe Rogan Experience, where Flat Earth was brought up, possibly unbeknownst to the goof Joe Rogan. Unbeknownst to the goof. So, and we will examine his reaction. Roger Avery is the individual. Mr. Roger Avery. I mean, I'll try to get to, the heck? Why is there a random echo? Okay, I think we're good. Okay. Alright, let me catch up with the chat first, and then we'll get to Rogaine. Pinto Sack says, maybe I'm not making sense, but what I'm trying to say is probably lots of guys programming and maintaining these satellites. They just playing with a fake model unbeknownst to them. So they're dealing with software. So in their software and GPS coordinates and all that, everything's being fed through computers. So they wouldn't know if it was all fake or manipulated. And I don't think necessarily it's all completely fake. So whatever the model is that the software is working with, because again, theoretically, a lot of these things would work the same on either model, right? So if there's a Satelloon or whatever floating above, it's floating above whatever city. So it would have the height over the city, and if it's moving whatever way it's moving, it's not that it would all be 100% fake. It's all interpreted data. And like, let's say there's even a real live cam on it. I mean, then they're watching it, but they still wouldn't know what the shape of the Earth was. I mean, how many of them actually say, wait a second, why are no satellites visible in this live stream when there's supposedly tens of thousands of them, or whatever? Like, you actually have to have a working, functional brain. Like, I've actually known a few people who've gone to MIT. Their Dunning-Kruger is off the charts, and it's not that they're not smart. They're kind of super geniuses in the most narrow area of expertise. So even, let's say, satellite coordinate software or whatever, like, they're experts at debugging that software or whatever. They might be the best in the world at it. But they're completely, utterly clueless when it, logical fallacies, or even applying the scientific method, even though they might have studied it or whatever. They don't actually apply it. But they're super geniuses in these really narrow, very specific fields. Flap Bob says, I'm sure they have to sign NDAs so they can't talk about it, but they mostly just interpret data from what I understand. The ones I knew did not sign any NDAs, but they didn't know anything. Unless they're lying. Unless they did and lied about it. But I don't know. They just seem... I've known them for a really long time. They seem genuinely clueless. Unless they were MK Ultra. But I don't know if they have... Do they really have the budget to MK Ultra every single NASA employee? Especially if it's not necessary, because it's all compartmentalized. Regardless of the shape of the Earth. Even if it is a globe. Like, whatever. Flat Bob says, but they know they have to account for real inertial and Euler forces. The Earth is provably stationary. Well, here's the thing. It's that reference point. So they could assume the Earth is moving when it's really the sky, but what's the difference? Like, the drift, the 15-degree drift or whatever, it is what it is. Regardless of which side it's coming from, the number is the same. And that's another thing, like, a lot of scientism cultists, that they don't have the mental capacity to understand that. Like, false dichotomy logical fallacies or whatever, non-congruent argument logical fallacies. They don't understand that, yes, something is moving, and you can calculate how fast it's moving, but you still don't know whether you're moving or the other thing is moving. You can only calculate the movement itself. The difference between the two. So it's not necessarily that the numbers would be inaccurate. They just don't know which side it's coming from. Doe Hope says, how would you define flat Earth? The general definition would be, actually, that's actually a pretty good question. That's actually a pretty good question. Flat Earth would be the theory that the Earth is some kind of plane. Not that it's actually flat. Obviously, there's mountain, and it's not actually perfect. It would never be perfectly flat, regardless of whether it's globe or a plane. It would be a planar model. But that's it. I mean, there's really no... I mean, is it an infinite plane? Unknown. Is there a dome? Unknown. If there is a dome, is there more than one dome on the plane? Is it all some kind of hologram? The easiest way to define it would be not the flat Earth... The flat Earth theory, the easiest way to define it, I guess for simplicity's sake, I would define it just as not a spinning globe 25,000 miles in circumference moving around the sun. Not that. I think that would be just the easiest way to define it amongst people discussing this topic on the interwebs. Flat Bob says the drift changes depending on altitude, seasons, and weather conditions. It fluctuates, proving it's not the Earth. Well, software could whatever make those calculate those changes accurately, but still the people looking at the software could say that it's the Earth, even if the numbers add up. That was my point. Especially if they don't even consider any other possibilities. I mean, I don't know about now, but like a decade ago, there was a lot of people who never even heard of flat Earth being a thing. So it would never even occur to them that the software could be measuring something other than what they assume. That's false cause logical fallacy as well. Radar says the physical manifestation of the realm we inhabit. Flat Bob says Dayton Miller did over 1.5 million measurements with laser interferometry, and his findings are fascinating. The drift changes. Is anybody arguing the drift never changes? I wasn't familiar with that. Doe Hope says, would you agree disproving globe doesn't prove flat Earth? Well, it depends on how you define flat Earth, right? Because, I mean, what are you claiming, that the Earth is a cube? Like, because a lot of the disproving the globe is the commonly accepted heliocentric theory with the measurements of the globe. Or are you arguing? But yes, technically you're right. If the Earth is a way larger globe that is not spinning, yes, a lot of the disproving of the mainstream heliocentric globe model wouldn't necessarily prove a plane. I mean, it depends which variables you're looking at. Pinto Sack says, gotta go skating on the pond. That sounds like fun. All right, so let's jump into Joe Rogan and Roger Avery.
And the William Shatner one where create and dig wartime.
Can we find that?
Wartime. It's a wartime film.
What, Jamie?
I was looking for. I was lost in some other ones.
Wartime 40s, right?
Yeah,
right.
It's a
even
wartime
crazier.
movie. Yeah.
I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
A lot of stuff going on back then.
Probably hard to get people to go to the movies back then.
No, it would be easy to go to the movies.
Because
in fact, wartime and depression and.
So for people who don't know, Roger Avery's a Canuck who directed, or he wrote Pulp Fiction. Obviously, I'm not a big Tarantino fan because he's a complete hack. And he wrote and directed Mr. Stitch, which I haven't seen. And that's starring Rutger Hauer of Blind Fury. We haven't talked about Blind Fury. That's a classic. And then he also did Rules of Attraction, the 2002 movie with James Vanderbeek, who actually just passed, unfortunately, of Dawson's Creek, which I've chastised Dawson's Creek to no end, as that is. Oh, we didn't finish talking about Ruby Ridge and Waco, and if this spiral, this collapse of the West could have been prevented if all the Patriots stood up back then. But yeah, Dawson's Creek definitely paved the way for degeneracy on primetime television. And yeah, James Vanderbeek, of course, starring as Dawson. But Roger Avery directed. I vaguely remember Rules of Attraction. Jessica Biel was in that also, of Seventh Heaven, which we have discussed quite a few times. What's weird is Shannon Sossamone is also in this movie, and she was famous, if I remember correctly. Actually, I don't really remember her too much. Anyway, yeah, so he directed Rules of Attraction, and then also he wrote Silent Hill and Beowulf, and then wrote and directed Lucky Day in 2019. Haven't seen that one either. But anyway, oh wow, he was also executive producer on Boogie Boy with Mark Dacascos and Tracy Lords. That's interesting. Okay, anyway, I'm guessing Joe Rogan didn't think that this guy, and I don't know if this guy's a flat earther. He seems just to take a logical position, but we'll see what he says. Jeff Hunt says, Rogan thinks you're stupid if you don't align with his beliefs. The absolute arrogance of it truly shows his colors. Well, my question was, was he this brain dead before the $100 million Spotify deal? I mean, he was always stupid. He's a dumb stoner. But I don't remember just nothing but fallacy spam in some of his positions. Like, a lot of it, he was just joking about a lot of stuff, and his humor is terrible. I mean, he's really not funny, but... And he's not funny or intelligent, but he did make some... I mean, he did have some decent points on the moon landing and 9/11 and some of these things in the past. I think he actually talks about 9/11 in this one as well. They get into conspiracy theories, but it seems like whenever he gets triggered, he just goes full retard. And there's certain topics that trigger him. Welcome, Chilster Deluxe. Chilster Deluxe says, not all stoners are dumb. Well, I didn't say they were. Some stoners are geniuses. I just said Joe Rogan's like dumb, one of the dumb stoner stereotypes, because a lot of stoners are dumb.
When things are bad, I think this kind of... this is the magic that they often talk about. The illusion. Silent Hill, we made the choice of whenever we're where to... Got like no one shoots a helicopter crashing like this. My wife got turned on, freaking out in the Atlanta airport.
About the sulfuric acid. So this was like right after he was indicted in 2018.
Yeah, I got to get rid of some bodies.
Yeah.
I got
How much did
dissolve up some bodies.
What did it say he ordered? Like, let's
Quick answer someone gives is that this could be for like a reverse osmosis.
I absolutely believe that.
You should get to
Damascus. And I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? He was you go explore buried shit around my island, or what? I mean, what else could he
Fair use, of course.
mean by that?
Huh. What does that mean?
I don't know.
I mean,
Things you don't
they
know
say
what
a
they
lot
mean.
of things, and they're not really coding it very much.
Well, the code, it's glaringly obvious when they say pizza and when they say jerky. That's
Yeah.
glaringly
So,
obvious.
last time
How
I
do you
would-
walk jerky?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And why do I need a chilled container to,
Right.
A chilled bag or whatever they said?
Jesus Christ.
And
So you think they're eating babies?
oh yeah, I absolutely believe that.
You should get...
Wow. Wow. Avery making no bones about his beliefs. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, there's some dark stuff. You haven't checked out the Pizzagate Epstein connection. check that out. I just did a deep dive on that. Welcome, Franklin. Welcome, Lucid Quasar. That's a great name. Apparently, the movie Bugonia has a direct visual representation of flat Earth under a dome. A lot of movies do. Jeff Hunt says his stance depends on his label. He has too much to lose to be authentic. Well, has Rogan ever apologized for his retardation? I mean, I know he's called himself a moron and a retard and stupid, but has he ever exactly looked at his position that he took? So Eddie Bravo, when I talked to Eddie Bravo about Joe Rogan, he said Joe is completely back on the moon landing being fake. But he never addressed why he flip-flopped in the first place to it being real. Because we went over that, and he just kind of said, yeah, when you look at all the evidence, but he never actually cited any piece of evidence. And now, supposedly, he's back to it being fake.
Together with Kurt Metzger. The two would go crazy.
I don't doubt it for a second.
Well,
I think this dates back, like, a long time. This is Moloch worship.
Oh, well, there was the other email that said, thank you for the torture video. I enjoyed the torture video.
Yeah.
You know what else is weird? Rogan's not getting triggered over, satanic Illuminati politicians eating babies. But as soon as you mention flat Earth, watch the logical fallacy stream like a faucet from his mouth.
And it's like people just they
they
don't want to accept it. Like people don't want to believe it. They don't want to accept it.
Okay, some commentary notes that a remote island with water treatment and energy systems could plausibly stockpile such quantities for 1 to 2 years of operations, although others argue that using it directly for reverse osmosis, as stated in one social post, is technically questionable for membrane health. Highly corrosive, strong mineral acid that can severely burn skin, eyes, dehydrate, and char organic material, which is why it features in both legitimate industrial processes and in darker hypotheticals online.
Darker hypotheticals.
Darker hypotheticals is where I'm leaning.
Yeah.
When you get indicted for sex trafficking and then you order 6 drums.
Jeff Hunt says, when Rogan backpedals, the Harvard rowing team is jealous. Well, does anybody remember his meltdown with Candace Owens? He started berating Candace Owens when Candace was on his show years ago over so-called climate change. He kept saying, well, you're not an expert. How do you know? Like, obviously, Rogan's not an expert in anything. Rogan is just the perfect example. I mean, look at his dumb face right there. He's a perfect example of the cult of authority worship. He's an authority-worshipping cultist bootlicker. Now, he's not necessarily in the political realm. He doesn't necessarily do that. I haven't seen him bootlick anyone, not even really Bernie, right? I mean, I remember there were some moments where he kind of held Bernie Sanders' feet to the fire. I don't know if Rogan bootlicked any politician ever. Maybe he has. But when it comes to the field of science, I mean, Rogan is so utterly clueless, I don't think doesn't even know what scientism is. And that's how you can know whether someone's legit or not. Because, for example, if Neil deGrasse Tyson was legit, he would be hating on scientism. He would be promoting real science versus scientism. Has anybody ever heard him say that? It's kind of like how a good cops would call out bad cops in police brutality, right? And some of them do, right? Oath keepers. I mean, there are good cops out there. I don't know how many, but might not be the vast majority, but it's the same thing with, like, a true scientist would take offense at all of these scientism cultist goofs like Neil Tyson, just contaminating and perverting their field by pretending that their blind faith in the corrupt, they're masquerading as real science. And so real scientists would take offense to people like Neil Tyson and all these goofs that claim that they're real scientists. Jeff Hunt says, can't have a position unless you have a diploma. It's so stupid. Well, I mean, it's just that's the genetic fallacy, the appeal to credentials, logical fallacies, appeal to authority, logical. I mean, the stack of fallacies is so high, and I might have to logically analyze his conversation with Candace Owens as well, because that was the first time I think I saw just him go full retard. Because I believe that was way before Eddie Bravo's flat Earth talks and nuclear weapons not being real. That was a long time ago. Even with Pizzagate, like that clip that we went over where Brian Callen started melting down. Brian Callen went completely full loon over Pizzagate. And I don't know has he put out, I'm kind of curious, has Brian Callen talked about Pizzagate since and addressed his own meltdown goofery? Like Brian Callen goes full retard all the time, but he went full retard, extremely animated over Pizzagate. I don't think he even went that crazy over Flat Earth. I mean, I think a little bit on Flat Earth too, but I wonder if he's addressed it recently. So 2 days ago, apparently there's a clip here. Brian Callen addresses backlash on his Epstein take. I mean, this is an hour long. I don't want to go through all this. And of course, Brian Callen himself was accused by 4 women of sexual assault and misconduct. So, yeah, make of that what you will. So yeah, notice how Joe Rogan never addresses science versus scientism. That's how you know he knows nothing about science or the scientific method. Absolutely nothing. I mean, this is children's level stuff, but the goof's a goof. Jeff Hunt says the way he polishes Neil deGrasse Tyson with all of his unsubstantiated claims. Well, Joe Rogan doesn't know what a claim is. He doesn't know what an argument is. He doesn't know what a logical fallacy is. That's like he's not even a preschool level logically. That seems to be the issue. Oh, don't you go bringing up Carrot Top. Oh, man.
Oh, sulfuric acid right away.
Place. And if you look on very, very old maps, you see that there used to be a country called Tartaria that was in existence, and at a certain point they wiped them out. And so his theory, and it's just a theory, it's just a posit, but when you see how history is constantly being rewritten in real time, it's not so hard to believe. And then he uses astronomical evidence and mathematically kind of proves it. And he basically says that, let's see if I can get this right, that Rome and Greece and those and Egypt were actually active till around 1600, and that Rome actually fell around 1600. So, kind of imagine, or more like late 1400s, 1492,
as opposed to what's the conventional timeline?
About 1,000 years before. And so, if you can wrap your head around it, the Salem witch trials took place around the same time as the Inquisition. Columbus was discovering America around the time Rome fell, and that all of this was designed to justify or to erase this entire civilization from history. And then there are people who believe that there are a lot of buildings that are still in existence that were this. They claimed that Jesus Christ was I can't remember the emperor's name. It's kind of a composite story. There's a number of...
So they think 1,000 years are missing from the timeline.
Well, yeah, think about it. If you're a Byzantine guy and you're like, hey, I want to move...
This is actually interesting. I would have thought... Because, wait a second. You know what else is interesting? I mean, Rogan is such a goof. Like, someone with, like, a higher status, like Roger Avery, he's not going to chastise him or talk down to him the way that he would to, like, say, Eddie Bravo, his buddy. Even though Eddie's the one who... I think Eddie's the one who gave him his black belt, isn't he? I mean, to be that disrespectful to your sensei, that's crazy. I mean, Rogan really does show his true colors in a lot of these podcasts. But Roger Avery, I mean, I don't know if is Roger Avery like super A-list. I'm not sure he is, but then again, I mean, if you're writing for Quentin Tarantino movies, I mean, I guess you are A-list as a writer, maybe semi A-list as a director. But yeah, it's like Rogan. How many times has Rogan really got annoyed with like a higher status guest or a guest that was higher status in his own feeble mind? Because I think Eddie did bring up Tartaria, didn't he? And Joe Rogan got kind of triggered over it, but here he's kind of being calm. So far, anyway.
To the country and you look over at France, let's say, and Germany, and you're like, yeah, there's all these like indigenous peoples there, and we want to wipe them out. And so you hire, a mercenary. You hire a guy named Charlemagne, and you get him to go in there and kill all the chieftains in one day. Like 5,000 chieftains were killed in a single day, apparently, by Charlemagne. And you completely wipe out everything, and then you move in. You become Jerome the First, and you run Paris, or you begin, France. And what it really is just land. And so you add time to the timeline in order to justify that land claim. Because what makes more sense? That history was cruising along like this and then suddenly flatlined for 1,000 years and then picked up again? Or does it make more sense that somebody took that time, that the Dark Ages, and kind of added to the timeline?
So I'm confused. So, but isn't there like documented history from multiple cultures about that time period?
Yeah.
And look at Joe Rogan, always appealing to the authority fallacies. Documented by whom and how? So if it's on Wikipedia, according to Joe Rogan, it's legit. If it's taught at an indoctrination facility like Harvard or whatever, that means it's legit. Because he just doesn't have I mean, look at his face here. He generally does seem confused. It's like he doesn't have the mental capacity to comprehend basic logic, like there's real basics, like kindergarten level basics. Look how confused he is. Sarah Catherine says, Bruce, you were in my dream a few weeks ago. You told me that you were an immortal scholar. What did I look like? You know, it'd be crazy if Sarah Catherine actually did see me in her dream somehow. What did I look like? Or was I some kind of did I have a non-physical form? Lucid Quasar says, for a tough guy persona, Joe gets triggered an awful lot. Yeah. Yes, indeed. So, yeah. Welcome, Run Boston Bear. Chanman Jackie Chanafan says, you had a shaved head in my dream. You looked cool. Cannot confirm or deny, my friend. Sarah says, Bruce, you were a ghost. I had an ethereal form? That's interesting. Speaking of ghosts, we definitely need to do more ghost podcasts. All right, let's continue here.
But it's all like, written down by the Jesuits, who were completely in the control of, it's that history is easily changed. And in fact, we see history being changed before our eyes in real time. And so the deep past is easy to change.
So we're not in 2026.
No, we're like in the 1700s.
Oh, Jesus.
He also blasphemes a lot. Like a lot. Like the goofery of Joe Rogan knows no bounds.
Oh my God.
It's just a theory. It's just this guy,
I mean, he blasphemes like a teenage girl. Like Joe Rogan's blaspheming vocabulary. Maybe not even, maybe a preteen girl.
Anatoly Fomenko. And it's a very interesting theory. And so I read that, and I kind of had a tentpole collapse. I was like, well, holy crap.
Explain to me the flatness. Like, what do you mean by history goes up and then flattens
Well, the
out?
progression of humanity through history, as we kind of are progressing as we go. And then all of a sudden there's this flat line called the Dark Ages where nothing happened.
Is there a conventional explanation for this flat line for 1,000 years?
The collapse of Rome and falling into barbarism, the time of barbarism.
That's not plausible?
Everything is plausible. It's
Right.
plausible that sulfuric acid is used for RO, reverse osmosis water cleaning. And so everything is possible. The question is it probable?
I like how Avery seems kind of smart. Like, this is my first interview I watched him, but he's just completely eviscerating Joe Rogan logically. Because Joe Rogan doesn't believe anything is possible. Because Joe Rogan, look how desperately he's appealing to conventional explanations, the mainstream narrative. Like, he's desperately, like, that's his blanket. He needs it, and he needs it to be true. That's kind of interesting for a supposed conspiracy theorist, isn't it?
And,
Well, Jamie just pulled up that was the first time they had ever ordered that.
oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, so there it is.
Yeah. That's not good.
Yeah, that's not good. I mean, that's the least of the things. The thing is, we become desensitized to stuff. I mean, look at everything that has happened in the last 6 years. It's like an insane amount of stuff has happened, and everyone's just kind of like numb to it.
Well, they get desensitized.
And I think it literally is that people's brains have been fried.
Do you think by COVID vaccines?
Yeah, for sure.
Well, there's some scientific evidence that for some people, at least, it crossed the blood-brain barrier and had some sort of a detrimental effect on their cognitive function,
mRNA is reprogramming.
which is bizarre. It's bizarre to watch. And then they eliminate jury trials for anything other than like murder and rape.
If you say anything, you're in jail. If you repost anything, you're just immediately sent to jail. Look at what's going on in Canada right now, with Carney. I mean, like that control.
He's like,
to be.
Oh, there's more pushback. I'm headed to Florida. Oh, there's more pushback than ever before, and so there's a possibility that fucking airport. I would think
was in traffic. People just keep driving by.
I don't remember the original one. I might not have even seen it, but the Sutherland one was amazing. I never would have thought that that's what it was about.
I mean, we're experiencing a kind of Bolshevik revolution at the moment right now. So,
in what way?
Well, there's a rise of Bolshevism. It's like we see it occurring. And
how do you define Bolshevism?
Well,
Joe Rogan doesn't know what it is. What a goof.
It's the Bolsheviks were essentially a kind of. I mean, it's not correct to say communism, but it's basically a kind of authoritarianism, in the guise of egalitarianism, and helping the world know we're all going to be equal and everything. But
and they were murdering Christians.
Jackie Chan fan might be on to me. I think I just imagined you as a 90s UFC fighter.
Socialism, yeah, they were murdering Christians and socialism. And that is...
Nobody wants to look into conspiracy, like how did these guys get a hold of these planes? How did they fly into the building? Why were the dancing Israelis watching it, cheering it on? Why did they get... shipped out of the country.
Yeah, and that guy who owned the building, who bought it, who took out the insurance policy, and then
Look at Joe Rogan activating logical mode for this, but not for anything else.
Had Elliot Spitzer kind of push it through and force it through so that he could receive his billions in insurance claim
and why
money.
And
really,
made the decision
they wanted
to
wanted to tear down that building, and it would have been too expensive to do, and all the asbestos and everything. So better to just destroy it.
It's like, what was that building housing? Like Building 7.
Well, Building 7 was housing all sorts of. It was an IRS.
NSA.
Yeah, it was
right?
NSA. And
what was in Building 7? Well, let's find that out so we don't just. I think, but there was certainly some intelligence and data that was being collected in billions. The fact that no one wants to admit that that building fell like a controlled demolition is really crazy.
But if we this expression is definitely representative of Joe Rogan's mental capacity. But look at this lapse in full retardness, though. He lapsed from being a full retard to actually asking logical questions here. Like, if someone were to act like Joe Rogan, they say, well, what's the conventional explanation there? Is it not plausible? They would just counter all of these logical points and just appeal, well, what did the experts say? Because who cares about your own lying eyes? Who cares about a coincidence stack a mile high? Chan Man Jackie Chan fan says, you were wearing rollerblades in my dream. Were you joking? That is my preferred mode of travel. I think I've revealed that before.
And again, I'm not saying it's a controlled demolition, but the fact that people want to say, no, it wasn't like a controlled demolition. Like, when was the last time you ever saw a fucking building collapse like that? Ever. Only controlled demolitions.
Yeah.
There's been many buildings that have been very badly damaged and lit on fire, but their frame remains.
Reputable structural engineers have basically also proven the towers could not have fallen the way they fell without explosives.
I've actually gone over all of this on several different 9/11 streams. I got 2 main episodes, and then I did some lost evidence streams. I think I have a jumbo on 9/11, right? If I don't, I gotta upload a jumbo, just the totality of all of it. But what was most mind-shocking to me, actually, believe it or not, recently, the amount of celebrities, like there's dozens of celebrities that were supposedly supposed to be on one of those 3 planes. Like, there's not enough seats for those stories to be true. So I don't know what's going on with celebrities and claiming to be on 9/11 planes, but let's continue here. They're going to get to the flat earth stuff pretty soon, I think.
Pre-planned explosives.
Okay, here
and
it
the
is.
people on the scene, the rescuers on the scene, the people who were there said, yeah, I heard explosion, boom, 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 boom. And they're describing the sounds of controlled demolition.
U.S. Secret Service, floors 9 through 10, CIA, the Department of Defense, sharing the 25th floor with the IRS, and the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission.
Like you put all that together, CIA, Department of Defense.
Oh, wow. Dave Bagatka in the house. How did I miss your comment? Joe thinks the Twin Towers fell on their own. Never mind how they burned for 100 days. Richie009 says, Joe is a conspiracy theorist who believes in the moon landing. Well, supposedly, Eddie Bravo told me recently that Joe Rogan he's flip-flopped yet again, and he's back to the moon landing being fake. That's what Eddie Bravo told me a few weeks ago.
IRS, who thinks any of those people have your
Right. Like, also, if you wanted
Your
to
best
destroy
interest in mind.
data, you wanted to destroy data. Like, didn't the part of the Pentagon that got hit and that was also a day after Rumsfeld was saying that there was trillions of dollars that were unaccounted for?
Yeah.
Didn't the accounting part of the Pentagon get hit by that air quotes plane?
Yeah. Yeah, that plane that plane that came in very
What's that, Jamie?
Screen. Last sentence.
The building contained about 24,000 gallons of diesel fuel for generators used by tenants like Solomon Brothers and the Emergency Command Center. Floors 46 through 47 and parts of the lower level were mechanical spaces, while files from federal investigations, Secret Service cases were stored there but lost in the collapse.
And the SEC.
Whoopsies.
And has the world been the same since then?
The SEC, like having that there too, boy, that's super convenient. Guys, we lost the data. Let's just start from scratch.
Like the moon landing? Oh, man, that he flip-flopped on. I mean, just the inconsistency in Rogan's retardation. I mean, that's interesting. Just the inconsistency within the goofery. It's not even consistent goofery. I mean, Rogan really needs to be studied. He's a very unique individual, is he not?
There's no case anymore. Whatever they were doing.
And yet nobody wants to accept it. Nobody cares.
What's
actually.
the video of it that is like really shocking? I had this really dumb guy on the podcast once that was a skeptic, a professional skeptic, and he was really angry with me for saying that it looked like a controlled demolition.
Oh, yeah, was that, that was one of the podcasts I was talking about. I need to logically analyze that one, because on that, there was one, and then there was another moon one, where he had some moon landing conversations where all of a sudden he's not spamming fallacies. But now he does. It's just kind of just the inconsistency in the goof rate.
You're promoting a dangerous conspiracy theory. I'm like, no, I'm saying it looks like you're saying it doesn't look like a control. Let's watch it. I'm like, let's watch it.
I mean,
it falls
conspiracy
at free
theorists
fall
have
speed.
had a pretty good run lately.
Let's watch it. Let's watch Building 7 collapse because it's kind of kooky.
Another facial expression there, representative of his mental capacity or lack thereof. Chelster, hold on, I gotta catch up with some of these comments here. Jeff Hunt says Rogan avoids taking any position that doesn't have a plausible denied back door. Flapop says he's a gatekeeper. If he is, was he always one? Because there were definitely some shady Hollywood stories back in the day with Rogan and how he got his start and all that. But some people say that all changed when he got the show Joe Rogan Questions Everything, where he actually doesn't. So that was like the Illuminati initiation, and the $100 million Spotify deal was the reward. Chilster Deluxe says he's a backdoor man. Radar Raider says I'd have to agree with that. Well, he seems to be very obsessed with backdoors in his comedy specials and in countless conversations. Jake Equality says Rogan came from Hollywood and was always controlled opposition. Interesting. See, I'm not sure about that. Have you seen his super low budget first podcast streams? I remember those from way back in the day. I forgot the year. I mean, this would have been over 20 years ago now, I believe. Like the low quality streams from his apartment or something. So he's from Connecticut, right? He used to work for a private eye. I mean, and he did taekwondo competitions. Like, I don't think he's originally a Hollywood guy. He came to Hollywood later through comedy. I haven't done a full deep dive into his history. But it would be interesting to see if he was MK Ultra at any point.
Now, one thing that people do point out that is true is that the center, like there was a small structure at the top of the roof, Building 7, that collapses first. And it does it, like, I think a minute before the actual building collapses.
But these are skirt buildings. And what that means is that's actually...
Oh, wow. Check out this comment from Thomas, Tahmas. Have you been here before, Thomas? I don't know if I recall seeing your name. Joe is what the mob would call an associate or hang-around. He still works for the mob, but he's not a made man. Well, I don't know. When he got the show Joe Rogan Questions Everything, was that his initiation? Because he was on Fear Factor, which I forgot how he actually got that story. I think he said that. He explained it once, like how he got, because that was mainstream. Fear Factor was mainstream. And because the UFC commentator gig, that was way early in UFC times. And did they not pay him for that? I don't remember exactly how that worked. Because Eddie Bravo, I think, did some commentary as well. And he knew Joe and that whole martial arts side of it. I think that was before UFC went full mainstream Illuminati. That's when it was still underground for the most part, I think. Semi-underground. And so on the UFC side, I'm not sure on how his initiation, and how he came up there. But the Fear Factor is interesting, but I don't know if he still really broke into the mainstream other than that until he got the show Joe Rogan Questions Everything. Because once he got that show, that's pretty much when the turn happened where he just started going full retard coincidence theorist. Thomas says, yeah, but I miss the lives a lot. Radar says, if you got a main role on the stage, you're a player. Jeff Hunt says, $100 million contract requires a tape, no blackmail, no money. Jackie Chan fan says, if he was bad at first, Eddie wouldn't have loved him. Yeah, Eddie comes off so genuine. Has Eddie ever been caught lying or flip-flopping on anything? I don't recall. So that's a good point. And a lot of people noticed the change in Joe Rogan when he got Joe Rogan Questions Everything. Not on Fear Factor, but on Joe Rogan Question. And after Fear Factor, that is kind of curious. If Joe Rogan refused to sell out around Fear Factor, because I don't think he really did anything major after Fear Factor, right? Because Fear Factor, that was like a huge, high-rated show, and then nothing, right? Nothing for a while. So maybe he wasn't willing to sell out then, but then for Joe Rogan Questions Everything he did, or they threatened him or whatever. Eddie Bravo says that, to his knowledge, Joe Rogan is not a shill, but he also very astutely said that if they did get to him and threatened him, etc., Joe Rogan wouldn't tell him. So even if he was, he wouldn't tell Eddie Bravo. Alex Jones wouldn't tell Eddie Bravo. So interesting, very interesting. If you haven't checked out the interview I did with Eddie Bravo, check that out. Justin Johnson says, trust no one, question everything is the best motto in these times of never-ending deceptions. Yes, very true. Chanman Jackie Chan fan says, Joe changed after he said he'd sell his soul, remember? He said it. Yeah, that's a good point. Does everybody have an exact date on that versus the Joe Rogan Questions Everything and the Spotify deal? All right, maybe I need to do a separate deep dive on him in a separate episode, and we'll get the timeline and all of the dates on everything. What's up, Crypto Chiro 3000? Oh, Big Papa Pump in here. We got a lot of people in here now. Everybody wants to know about this Flat Earth conversation.
The most structurally sound part of the building. The rest of the movie is a facade that's hanging off of the inner structure.
Rest of the building, yeah.
Yeah, that's the most sound part of the building.
It's built over a Con Edison substation, requiring large transfer trusses on lower floors to support the tower above, creating long-span floors vulnerable to thermal expansion. Long, unsupported floor beams and girders up to 50 feet connected to critical interior columns, like column 79, with shear studs that failed under fire-induced lateral loads rather than just gravity.
It was the auto manual flip-flop.
The exterior tube frame provided stiffness, but the open interior layout lacked redundancy to prevent fire-induced progressive collapse, with connections not designed for horizontal thermal forces. Okay, that's a cute way of saying that's why it fell at free fall speed and looks like a controlled demolition. Because if that was my building, I would say, give me my fucking money back. You made this shit-ass building. This building got lit on fire and just collapsed on itself. Let's watch it collapse. Because the way it collapses is so kooky. Because it really does it at free fall speed or close to it. It's strange. Like, there's never been a building that looks that intact that falls like that. It's weird, man. I mean, it's fucking weird. And
not to mention, it wasn't struck by anything, allegedly.
Anybody that says it's not weird, look, this is how it happened. It's weird. Now, the planes hitting Tower 1 and Tower 2, okay, that makes maybe more sense to me.
Does it?
Yeah.
Does it?
Yeah, because it fell from the top down.
How would that make sense? Because wouldn't the top half just fall off? Not to mention, again, I went over all of this. There have been other buildings that were struck by planes. None of them fell, except the one that had a plane hit the base. That's the only one that fell. And it still took a really long time. And that's because it hit the base of the building, not the top. I mean, Rogan, again, just no knowledge of basic physics, basic logic, anything.
Like, it looks normal. It doesn't collapse into its base. Tower 7 collapses into its base. The way Tower 1 and Tower 2
But how about the testimony of people
fell.
saying they heard multiple pop, 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 pop explosions? Is that just girders snapping?
It could be. Yeah. I mean, you got to think you have immense amounts of weight, and it is collapsing. So
What is he talking about, immense amount of weight? Like, those buildings were built to withstand plane impacts, hurricanes, earthquakes, etc., fireproof steel, etc., etc. So again, even on this topic, Rogan doesn't really know anything. Joe Rogan questions nothing, except like some weird outliers. I mean, how do you not question Building 7, though? Like, even somebody, like, completely retarded might have a problem with that. Whereas, because the mainstream media hadn't spent time on Building 7. Like, if they had, if they made up some narrative for Building 7, would Joe Rogan be regurgitating it the same way as with the two towers?
So if it does collapse, the way it looks it's collapsing from the top down, it's not going to be silent. You're going to hear tremendous explosions when concrete hits the slabs below it. It's going to sound like explosions. Also, you have the fog of war, right? So you have these people that are involved in an extremely traumatic situation, and their memory is very fucked. Like, your memory's fucked when you experience something like this. You remember things funny. You have confirmation bias. There's a lot of weird stuff that happens. So this is the explanation that a piece of the plane falls down and hits that building.
And big tower on top.
Yeah. I'm sorry, a piece of the
aerial antenna.
building. I meant to say sorry. So that piece of the building falls down.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I went over all this in the other episodes on the topic. You could check those out, but some good points by Jeff Hunt here. Planes are super weak. Yeah, it's soft aluminum. Like, throw a paper airplane into a wooden door, see what happens. Is it gonna slice through the door like knife through butter? I mean, it's kind of weird. I mean, has Rogan never watched it in slow motion? Like knife through butter?
Down, and not a plane, obviously, hits the building next to it, Tower 7, and that gash is all it took to take that building down. That's super suspect. And I do know that there was a fire inside the building. I'm sure there was. But the way it fell was crazy. Tower 1 and Tower 2, it's like, I don't know what happens when a jet flies into a building like that, and neither do you. And also, you got to
Neither do you. What? It's not like that hasn't happened before. Like, now Rogan hallucinating to know what other people... I mean, obviously he doesn't know anything, but other people who are capable of using the internet and just taking a couple minutes to look up all the other cases where airliners crashed into skyscrapers. You know, skyscrapers not built with fireproof steel and not specifically designed to withstand those impacts. They never fell. Curious.
deal with corrupt construction companies, cutting corners, not doing things up to code. Perhaps. I'll give you that. I'll be super charitable. But with Building 7, I'm like, come on, man. That's weird. That one's fucking weird. Because it doesn't...
That's not charitable. That's called being retarded.
fall like 1 and 2. 1 and 2 fall from where the impact was, the deterioration of the structure, the weight of what's above the impact. It falls down on it, and you see a progressive collapse from the top to the bottom. Tower 7 is nuts. Tower 7 just drops.
They all drop the same. Like, what is he smoking?
Just drops all at once, free fall speed into its base.
They all did that.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Anybody that doesn't think that's weird is being naive.
Yeah.
That's never happened before to a building that hasn't been a controlled demolition. Again, not saying it's a controlled demolition. Maybe it's accurate that these enormous drums of diesel are...
So did the Spotify deal... I missed the comment here. Flat Bob says over 2,000 structural engineers all publicly stated it was controlled demo just by watching the footage. I think it's a lot more than that now. That was like a long time ago when it was only 2,000. Then what is it, like over 11,000 pilots? I forget the numbers. I went over all that before too. Jake Equality says all the buildings collapsed on their base. Rogan is a fraud. So... Okay, Thomas says he's not a bad guy, but he knows the topics he needs to play it safe on. He can keep doing this and spreading some truth, but if he goes too far, he'll get canceled. Powerful people can ruin him. So what's the allegation here that... Oh, here, Thomas also said Spotify deal was a ridiculous amount of money. They probably require him to play it safe on certain topics. He can get close, but not too close. So is that kind of what the deal is? Like, he's allowed to discuss and touch on the topics, but he has to build in... Well, maybe it is true. Just to add that layer, is that the requirement? I don't know. That's weird. Or is the requirement that he'll flip-flop any topic whenever they tell him to? So that he can discuss anything as he sees fit, but when they say reverse a position, he has to reverse the position. And is that what they did with the moon landing? Then did they walk that back at some point?
Creating this fire, unprecedented load on the structure of the building.
But see, even with
that,
with everything else that occurred, with all the tangential stuff that's occurred, you're still like giving the benefit of the doubt. You'll have suspension of disbelief.
But I'm saying right now, I was trying to finish. That fire is not on every floor uniformly. So why is it collapsing uniformly from the top down into the base?
Is Rogan that ignorant on this subject? He doesn't know that it's fireproof steel? Like, is he that dumb? Like, he's talked about this for decades. And, I mean, this is another facial expression representative of his mental capacity or lack thereof. Does he not know that it was fireproof steel?
Why doesn't the base, where you have this incredible fire load, why doesn't that weaken and it fall over sideways because it no longer has structure anymore? Why is it every floor has the same amount of damage and it gives in at the exact same time? That kind of doesn't make sense because the fire is not uniform throughout the building. It's not like the building is one gigantic flame ball and then it all gives out.
Even if it were, it wouldn't give out even if it weren't fireproof steel. I mean, what was that skyscraper in, was it Brazil, somewhere in South America? Didn't it burn for like 2 weeks or something? And it still never fell down. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know what he's smoking.
At the same time. But even then, I would think it would tip over. It would fall to the side. Falling into its base, that seems to indicate some sort of a control. Like it was done uniformly. They time it. When you watch like in Vegas when they blow.
Justin Johnson says, best way to control the opposition is to lead it. That is true. Radar Raider says, acting dumb. Flat Bob says he's not dumb. He's playing dumb. He's a gatekeeper. Jeff Hunt says he's a good actor. Yeah, I don't think his thespianism is that good, actually. He just seems, I mean, maybe it is. Maybe it is. Like, if he could act this dumb genuinely, like, then he is. But why didn't he get more movie roles then? Like, he just did that one TV show, right? Was it, like, news radio or some kind of radio show? What was the show he did? Let me, sports radio? He was, like, the shortest guy on that show. Let's see. News Radio 95 to 99. Wow. 4 years? I didn't know he was on there for that long. That was a sitcom. And then he was in Hardball, the 1994 TV series about a fictional baseball team. Huh. Then he did one episode of Mad TV as himself in 96. And then he apparently didn't do much. He did, yeah, apparently not much until 2001. So he did nothing for like 5-6 years? That's weird. And then, then he got Fear Factor. And that was only 11 years. Oh, he was only the host for 7 years, the main host. Okay, alright. Then he kind of got big with UFC and all that. And he did a couple of small spots, but yeah, nothing major until Joe Rogan Questions Everything. That seems to be the turning point, is Joe Rogan Questions Everything. So, well, might as well get the dates right now. Joe Rogan Questions Everything. It's 2013. It premiered July 24th. Let's see when he got his Spotify deal. So the Spotify deal. Oh wow, it was 200. Okay, no, his new deal is 250 mil, $250 million. And that's so that includes an upfront guarantee and revenue sharing. His previous deal was 200 million. Okay, let's see. What's the original deal? Was it not 100? Was it 200 million? That's insane if it was 200 million. Let's see here. the Spotify deal? Wow, that's interesting. April 2024, there's a lawsuit against Onnit alleging that Alpha Brain performed no better than placebo. He pushed that for a real long time. Alright, what else? Okay, here we go. So, wow, he only launched the podcast in 2009? I thought it was earlier than that. That's weird. Because some of those grainy live streams, they looked like they were way early 2000s. It says 2009 here. Interesting. Okay. So, wow, it was a $200 million deal. It wasn't $100 mil. We're wrong. Wow. It was 200 mil, not 100 mil. Does that change anything for anybody? 1/5 of $1 billion? And then he just signed a new deal that's 250 mil. Alright, what was I just totally forgot the date here. So, July 24th, 2013 is Joe Rogan Questions Everything. And then Spotify deal is 2020. So that's 7 years later. So there's a gap there. There is a gap there. Interesting. So maybe it wasn't Joe Rogan Questions Everything. Unless he wanted... So obviously he's not going to tell the truth. But what if the show was pitched to him as if he could question everything, and then during the show, he was sat down and told what's what? Now let me see if I can find the date on when he said he would sell his soul. I can't find it. Does anybody know when he mentioned that? I think there's 2 different episodes. One he said something. What did he say? He said he wants to know about aliens or whatever, and that he would... I forget. I don't think that was... I don't think that was the same one where he said he would sell his soul for whatever. He said... I think there was 2 different instances, and I don't have the dates on those. So we'll have to do a separate deep dive on that. But if there was 7 years between the Questions Everything show and the Spotify deal, so clearly something else went on.
Up a casino, it's
Mm-hmm.
like dum 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 dum, and then it does that.
Dung, 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 dung,
Let's
dung.
watch an actual controlled demolition. So when you watch an actual controlled demolition, it looks just like that. It looks just like that. And then I don't know.
I mean, the testimony of your eyes are telling you the truth, but your brain, will come up with all sorts of stuff because mundus vult decepi.
Well, I'm not allowing it to with Tower 7. I've always maintained a pretty open mind with that. But also, I lean towards shenanigans in that one because that one just seems fucked. Tower 1 and Tower 2, maybe. Tower 7, come on.
Yeah.
Tower 7, nobody looks... And if they're telling you that Tower 7 seems normal, they seem so gaslighty. Everybody that says that seems like they're gaslighting. So here we go.
Like himself.
Oh. Hit it. Okay, this one's they're setting up for a controlled demolition, so they're showing you how. That's kind of a shitty one. There's other ones that have done a better job with. But it's the same kind of thing.
It's still falling onto itself.
Yes, it's falling into itself the same way Tower 7 did. That's
But see, that movie, that
that's
building
a different
has
shape.
That has a skirt building. It's got a center structure. In the
Yeah, it's a
middle.
different kind of structure. It has a different look to it. Let's watch that one. Okay, there. Come on. That looks exactly like Tower 7. When you watch that, back that up again a little bit, please. Watch that from the top, from the beginning. Just a little bit before, right before it drops. So watch. They're looking, they're watching. We're going to watch the building drop.
Yeah, that's all of them. That's the Twin Towers, too. Like, what is this goof smoking?
There it is. That fucker goes right down like Tower. Like, from there, come on. That's exactly like a controlled demolition.
You know,
and even the way it looks as it's going down looks exactly like Tower 7.
you know, we were talking about predictive programming and how movies and like spells can predict stuff in advance and you know, kind of prepare you for the future of what's coming. You know, in 1999, a movie came out which was effectively a manifesto, and that movie was called Fight Club. And what's the
Yeah. Liquid Quasar said he basically said he was available to any government agency and that he'd lied to his mother to be in the know. Yeah. I think that was a different one than when he said he would sell his soul, right? Or was that the same one? I think there might have been two different instances. We need the dates on that one. Groupthink Skeptic said, was Rogan mentioned in the Epstein drop? Yes. But indirectly, I think just that he was talking about it or something of that nature. Not that he was alleged to have been on the island or anything. But I think he said, I think Rogan, no, but I think there was instances of Epstein inviting him to parties or something. And he allegedly did not go. It didn't even respond to those emails or whatever. Something of that nature. Okay, I'm trying to get the date on when he would say that. Yeah, I don't know. I can't find the exact episode. Okay, wait, maybe I got something. Oh, he said that on the show. Alright, yeah, I'm gonna play this clip right now. Let's keep listening to this, and then I'll get the clip on what everybody's talking about.
the end of that movie? The end of that movie is the collapsing of the buildings, which are the financial system, you know, of the future, so that they can create a new future. Who produced that movie? Arnon Milchan. Who is Arnon Milchan? And they got a commercial director to do it, Fincher. And he's an excellent director, and I think it's a excellently, beautifully made film. But who is Arnon Milchan? Well, you know, he himself has said, "I am a Mossad agent," and he said that out loud. Like, that's not me saying that; that's him.
This guy Avery's kind of smart, isn't he? This guy knows his stuff.
Saying that, and Fincher said, "Oh yeah, my last movie, that was made by an arms dealer." Well, that's him. That's Arnon Milchan. And so, you know, and what's another Arnon Milchan movie? The Medusa Touch with George C. Scott and I think Lee Remick. And in that movie, what happens? An airplane crashes into a building, and you could probably pull that one up too. An airplane crashes into a building. This guy's obsessed with airplanes crashing into buildings and buildings collapsing in movies. And so what's likely? You know, has he been reading these scenario plans that defense departments make and that are maybe, you know, Mossad, you know, plans that are made? I've worked for the DoD through John Milius, and we wrote scenarios. They gathered together a bunch of Hollywood writers into a what is it, like a conference room, it was like more like a ballroom, but like a small one, and gathered a bunch of us together around a table and said, let's come up with ways on how to attack Los Angeles. And we all wrote scenarios on how to attack LA. And now they just use AI to do all that. But so, you know, has he just been like reading these? Does he have access to them? And so he just puts them into his movies? Well, that movie was made in 1999. And what happened right after that movie got released? Those buildings came down. Yeah. 9/11 came down. And so is it predictive programming where you're showing the world what's to come and that makes it almost somewhat acceptable to do?
Whoa.
Or is it just coincidence?
And most
people out there will say, "Oh no, it's just coincidence. It's coincidence." And he just happens to be. I mean, that's what he has said. I don't know if he is or not Mossad, but that's what he said. So,
Well, that's the thing about the pejorative term conspiracy theorist. It's slapped on things, and it immediately sort of diffuses any real questioning of, oh my God, are things this bad? Is there this much? But as time goes on and you're confronted with more and more information, and I think we're in the beginning stages of reckoning with these files that were just released, where so many people, like, I haven't really read much of it. I've only read the things that are really outrageous that my friends have sent me, because I'm just trying to maintain my sanity.
That's an interesting cope. I mean, actually, I don't know. That's not that bad. I mean, I don't go through all of them either, but here's the clip from the UFO episode of Joe Rogan Questions Everything. And in the comments on YouTube, it was funny. It said, this is how you negotiate a $100 million contract.
Reputable starts talking about UFOs. You can co-opt the person
Fair use, obviously. Nothing but fair use up in here.
and say, hey, you want to know UFOs? We'll show you the real deal.
He actually looks kind of young and not so fat there.
But not only can you never talk about it publicly,
Yeah, this, I don't know why there's so much blasting music here.
you have to be a debunker publicly.
I'll tell the government right now, CIA, I'm available, okay? If you show me, tell you right now if you're listening, NSACA, tell you right now if you're listening, NSACA, I'm available.
NSA. See, the NSA isn't even talked about that often. That's kind of interesting that he's specifically addressing the NSA. Wow. That's interesting, isn't it? So, this was the September 18th, 2013 episode on UFOs.
Okay, if you show me all the real wreckage, I swear to God, I will make fun of that crap to the end of time. I'll make up stories. I'll lie to my mother. I don't care. Stories. I'll lie to my mother. I don't care. You show me a UFO, I'll lie to my mother. I swear to God, I will make fun of that crap to the end of time. I'll make up stories. I'll lie to my mother. I don't care.
There you have it. A man of integrity. Jackie Chan fan says he changed after that. Thomas says if he didn't play ball, they would have got him on taxes and ruined him. That's a good point. Because he raked in a lot from the podcast. That's a great point. Word Salad says, Bruce, do you know much about the book Night in Zagreb? No. Does that have anything to do with Mirko Krokop?
well, that's just it. Most people want to maintain sanity. You just,
Yeah.
like, I just want to get through the day. You know, I just want to, like,
You're busy.
Yeah, well, and it's
People are
even more
busy.
than busy. I want to be happy.
Right.
I want to raise my children in a world that is, you know, a peaceful world, and where people respect each other, and where we can, like, you can make something out of yourself, you know, through hard work and through merit. You know, it's
Yeah.
like that's the world I want to live in. And more, it feels like we're not in that world.
Did you see that thing that was just released today? I think it's the AI company Anthropic. I think that's the company. So one of its engineers resigned and essentially said that humanity is doomed.
Yeah.
And he's going to move to the UK and just write poetry and just wait it out.
Hasn't that guy seen Threads? Like, the UK is like one of the most dangerous places to be. That's where he's going to wait it out. Like, that's
Well, he probably has this
well, when he says UK,
romantic
does he
idea.
mean like where does?
I'm not sure. Maybe he means like the Scottish Highlands.
Yeah,
Maybe he's
well,
going to hide
Yeah.
and go into some small town and fucking just hang out.
Totalitarianism because
rather,
you'd
'cause
prefer
you don't wanna
bioweapon,
be
or unless Einstein.
famous Zen quote, not knowing is most
Scared the
values guide actions amid mountains. Yep.
at least portions of civilization looking at extinction.
Yeah.
And
I mean, they're experiencing that right now.
totalitarian
South Korea,
Yeah,
Japan.
yeah.
What is? Can you find that guy's manifesto?
I think,
or
yeah,
excuse me, his
Cuarón is a genius for making that film. I just want to say.
Children of Men?
Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic movie. So today is my last day at Anthropic. I resigned. Here's the letter I shared with my colleagues explaining my decision. That's a lot to read. What is the synopsis? Just ask Perplexity what the synopsis of what this guy said. Okay. Sharma, who built defenses against AI-assisted bioterrorism and pushed for transparency on model risks at the San Francisco AI firm, announced his resignation on Monday. He described struggles to let values guide actions amid mounting pressures, planning to return to the UK for a poetry degree and step back from the spotlight. His exit follows other safety team departures amid Anthropic's launch of Claude Opus 4.6 and a massive $20 billion funding round at $350.
Fair use, obviously. Look at all this fair use going on here.
$350 billion valuation, fueling debates on balancing safety with commercial speed. Okay, but what is he saying specifically is the issue? Let's click on that. Fuck it. Let's click on
his AI started talking to him and it scared the bejesus out of him.
The safe holds. He's part of the guiding of the. Damn it! Lost the word.
Yeah.
Bioweapon. I mean, look, this guy's built something, and all of a sudden he's realizing all the players that are funding it are likely, scary, scary people.
Yeah, scary people who are
who are all in the same club, drinking baby blood and offal together.
What's offal again?
Shit.
Oh.
Meconium, which is like it's a thing.
Baby poop.
Yeah, that's in the files.
What comes next, I do not know. I think fondly of this famous Zen quote, "Not knowing is most intimate." What? My intention is to create a space to set aside the structures that have held me these past years and see what might emerge in their absence. He's already working on his poetry right here. I feel called to writing that addresses and engages fully with the place we find ourselves, and that places poetic truth alongside scientific truth as equally valid ways of knowing.
Yeah, it was written for him by AI.
Elon said something very bizarre recently. He was talking about the speed of light, that the speed of light cannot be, you can't bypass or exceed the speed of light.
If you believe Einstein, yeah.
He said, unless we live in a simulation.
Or unless Einstein was wrong.
Right.
I mean, a lot of astrophysics is based on a false premise that P equals P prime, and that the sun is designed a certain way, and it's completely wrong. And everything that we know about the stars and how we view the nature of the universe is fundamentally incorrect.
How is it wrong?
It's based on this idea
Rogan about to get triggered hard.
of the stability of Kelvin temperatures in the sun, and which is this P equals P prime thing. And the guy who invented CAT scan machines, there's sort of a Venn diagram overlapping of this photographic technique and astrophysics. And what he realized is, holy cow, that is not true. And therefore, so much of everything that we know about how we view the cosmos is incorrect. And so,
Now, how'd they find out that it was incorrect?
Well, he's a mathematician. He figured it out. Mm-hmm. I would have to look up his name and everything.
And what is incorrect about it? Do you remember?
Here he is, triggered, but pretending not to be triggered. This is, anybody who's watched Joe Rogan for a while, this is the exact stupid face he makes when he's super triggered, but pretending not to be. Because his blind faith in scientism has been blasphemed against, because he's so religious in his dogma of believing everything from NASA and the mainstream that this triggers him to his goofy core, and he's pretending, he's trying so hard not to come off as triggered, but it's so obvious. I mean, look at his face. It's so obvious that he's extremely triggered now.
Remember that?
Well, it's at the beginning of astrophysics, there is this formula, and if that formula is wrong, then the preceding calculations are also wrong, or at least off. Mm-hmm. And so the idea is that, what we view is really just it's kind of a cartoon that's painted for us using all these formulas and using radio telescopes. And so, things are not as they seem.
Well,
in the
they
woods.
already have issues with the findings from the James Webb Telescope.
Oh yeah, well that's
You could also see how he really, if he's a gatekeeper, I mean, he's had a lot of practice doing this. Like, he'll bring up certain points that seemingly agree with his guest, only to discredit the guest. So it's almost like he's building rapport in order to gaslight.
probably part of it. Yeah, you know, I have to say, like, I mean, I'm a provocateur, and so I'm always interested in finding that which upsets people's, you know, concepts of things. And that's partly because I'm a screenwriter and I'm looking for these kind of conflicts and interesting ideas and stuff like that. So take what I'm about to say with a grain of salt. But the big one, the biggest conspiracy theory that freaks everybody out is flat Earth. Now, I don't know what the Earth is, but experientially, through the testimony of the eyes, it is flat.
And here we go.
And there is very little chance that I will ever in my life, or most of us will ever in our life, experience anything other than what is effectively a flat Earth. And you know, the way laser sighting across large bodies of water, or navigation maps for air travel, you know, for pilots, is always the presumption of a flat Earth. It's always in the pilot manuals and on maps.
How so?
Well, if you're flying a jet at low altitude, you're not making corrections for curvature, even though you're going fast enough where you should be. And so what's actually happening there? Well, and so the idea is, look, I don't know what the world is or what the realm that we're in is, but experientially, from my perspective.
Who thinks Joe Rogan's actually going to address what he said about fighter jets not making corrections while they're flying fast, many times faster than the speed of sound?
In life, it is nothing but it's a flat Earth.
But what about travel routes? Like, what about when they fly?
And here's the whataboutism. Instead of actually having a good faith, intellectual, logical conversation, obviously Joe Rogan's not capable of it. And look at his posture. He's got his hands tucked under his arms. He's trying so hard to not appear triggered as he's extremely triggered. Because this Avery guy has already demonstrated he's way more intelligent than Joe Rogan can ever dream of being. So, and he knows he's not going to get away with his typical goof antics. And also, like, perhaps he respects Avery a certain amount that he doesn't respect Eddie Bravo. So, and notice how that goof Jamie's not chiming in with anything in a triggered stupor like last time. I got an A in physics.
Fly over Antarctica. What if they?
Well, they don't fly over.
But you can
Antarctica.
watch the sun rise and fall.
They
as you
don't
fly.
even.
And look at how now he's gish galloping, just spamming reification fallacies, red herrings, and strawmen all over the place. Like, he's getting his logical fallacy stack going fast here, as within seconds of flat Earth being mentioned, all of a sudden the logical fallacy spew is fully on blast.
They don't even fly from
They can
Cape down to
predict
Buenos
it.
Aires.
There's a
They travel-
understanding
they
of
travel
the precession
up-
of the equinoxes.
They travel up into the other hemisphere and like land in London or something, and then travel back down.
Wow, that was an impressive gish gallop reification fallacy stack. Also false premise, reductive logical fallacy, false dichotomy, appeal to authority. But that was actually kind of impressive. I mean, that was bordering destiny level verbal diarrhea fallacy spam from Joe Rogan there. Groupthink Skeptic says deception is Rogan's vibe. I think he harbors demons allowed in during the ayahuasca trips. Wow. Now that is a subject for a podcast right there. Chilster Deluxe says, there's that face. Yeah, Joe Rogan can't hide him being triggered. He's kind of, like, for a good actor, he just does a really poor job of that. And I'm not claiming he's a good actor. People in the chat were.
Down whenever you're doing a flight across the Atlantic. And so, like, when you look at it on a flat Earth map, and there are plenty
there's
of them,
satellite photographs of Earth from space.
those are all cartoons.
What
Those
are you talking about?
I'm saying that even the NASA, the guys who actually do those
But there's photos of Bigfoot and ghosts. Derp, derp, derp. Look at all those Bigfoot and ghost photographs. Now, whether Bigfoot or ghosts are real, maybe they are, but just because there are alleged photos doesn't mean they're real. I mean, just the lack of just basic preschool level logic from Rogan here. I mean, who thinks he's acting? He's awfully triggered to be acting. I don't know.
Composites. Those are composite imagery of. Listen, I am not saying that.
But it seems like you're saying
I'm
that
just
the
saying,
Earth is possibly flat.
I'm saying experientially.
right.
From
but
your
that's a
from
scale.
your
That's
daily-
a scale issue, though.
When was the last time people saw Rogan like hunched over with his hands under his arms with the stupid face? Like super triggered pretending not to be. I mean, look at this posture. When is the last time Rogan had this kind of posture?
Correct.
We're a tiny little thing on an enormous thing.
Correct.
Now that's a true intellectual. We're a tiny little thing on an enormous thing. Now, whether how does being big or small tell you what shape something is? I mean, you could be a toy soldier on a table, on a large dinner table, or you could be a large dog on a dinner table. Like, it still doesn't tell you the shape of the table or how big the table is. The table could be miles wide, but it could still be a flat table, regardless of the object on it. Just Rogan's goofery knows no bounds. Like, just when you think he can't get any goofier. Justin Johnson says, it looks like someone took his lunch money. Oh, man. Radar says, how do we know he doesn't have someone yakking in his ear telling him what to say? Now, that's a good question right there. He might. What's his face? That Craig goof from Fight the Flat Earth. Doesn't he have somebody in his earpiece? Or was it McToon? Yeah, some of those anti-flat earther goofs who recruit more flat earthers than any flat earthers with their goofery, they do, but and Rogan might too, but he got triggered so fast. I don't know if there was enough time for someone to tell him to bring up all those fallacies, because he brought them out so fast. But in general, he probably does.
But, you know, snipers have to calculate for the curvature of the Earth when they shoot.
Do they? I think this is a good time to bring up a renowned sniper, possibly one of the best in the world, and an instructor, I believe. I mean, how many snipers has Rogan actually talked to, though? Or is he just regurgitating Wikipedia? Let me get this clip here. This one was brought up kind of recent. Let me see if I can find it. I thought I had saved it. I think this is a great time to go over this one. Because a lot of goofs were hallucinating that this guy's not really a sniper. I think he's a Navy SEAL instructor. Like, not some random, like, grunt sniper. I mean, this guy's supposedly, like, one of the top in the world. So not just any random sniper. It's going to take me a minute to pull this up. Maybe 2 minutes. Possibly 3. But I this is very relevant here, so I do want to find it. Almost there, I think. Hopefully. Just give me another minute. Or another 2. Still finding it. I thought I had it here. Along with the receipt for who the guy was. Because a lot of goofs were saying that this guy is not who he claims to be. But he is. And this has nothing to do with Flat Earth. This is just whether or not snipers calculate for alleged spin. Because the Earth could still be a globe that doesn't spin. But the claim that snipers calculate for the... which doesn't make any sense on any level. Because that you would also have to calculate... like, are you shooting north to south, west to east? Because the Earth allegedly spins west to east. And if it's closer to the North Pole or South Pole, the speed is much slower. So, yeah, I mean... like, if they had, like, computerized sniper rifles, which they probably do now, but, like, that would do all the calculations for you. But, you know, decades ago, and even now, most, I think, you know, the average sniper rifle... Okay, I found it. Now let me just get it on the screen.
Oh,
So this is not just a Navy SEAL sniper, but he's also a sniper instructor. I'll let this play while I get that receipt to verify this guy's identity. For the goofs that were spamming genetic logical fallacies and such, and appeal to credentials fallacies.
The lies we are told and believe because we fail to recognize them by using our own logic and critical thinking. I'm a retired Navy SEAL, sniper, scout sniper, and scout sniper instructor. I fancied myself at a time as being one of the best snipers in the world, certainly one of the best scout snipers in the world, which includes more than shooting, but also skillcraft. Some others would agree. The Coriolis effect is bullshit. The theory is that with the Earth spinning on its axis in a direction of east to west, you would have to compensate for the spin of the Earth when shooting in a westerly or easterly direction. When the bullet would reach the target would either have risen or have dropped based on the spin of the Earth. Shooting north and south would be no difference. It wouldn't have an effect. But on a mission, if that were true, I would have to compensate at varying degrees, whether shooting between north and south, or correction, north and east, east and south, south and west, or west to north. Never once did I compensate for the Coriolis effect. And we were driving nails, or at least hitting a man-sized target in the kill zone at 1,800 yards consistently every time. Along with other lies told about our universe and the nature of it, the Coriolis effect is total BS. Certainly, a bullet drops when at distance dramatically because the velocity is decreasing. But as far as the spin of the Earth goes, no effect.
And I mean, this is so obvious too. I mean, throw a ball. Is it gonna go forever? How hard you propel something. Now, obviously, you know, you do have the inertia unless there's other forces acting upon it, which there are electric forces. But so again, the mainstream narrative would be like, well, gravity acts upon it in addition to the Coriolis effect. That's the mainstream position. But clearly, that would not be the case if you were following the scientific method. Or if it is, nobody's presented that. And yeah, here's a news report on Navy SEALs and Navy SEAL training. And this is the guy here. For the goofs that are saying this is just some random guy claiming to be. And this is Adam Newbold. So, because a lot of goofs were saying he just claimed to be a sniper and he's not a sniper. As if that would change what he said. But anyway, just the goofery of Joe Rogan. Again, look at his posture here. Looks like a petulant child that got his toy taken away. His toy being the scientism position. This is hilarious, is it not? This is absolutely hilarious. Let's continue with the goofery.
Only the curvature of the landscape that they're
right.
on.
Why do you think the landscape curves?
The landscape doesn't curve.
What? Why do you think there are hills and valleys? Like, what? Does Joe Rogan think there are not hills or valleys? And if there are hills or valleys, the reason why there are hills or valleys depends on the shape of the earth. Wow.
It is a mountainous and uneven.
Not always.
Uneven,
no. On flat plains, you have to do the same thing.
Well,
if you're making a long shot
Except you don't. Do we need to listen to the clip again?
over a flat area, like if you had to shoot.
Well, then why?
Oh, the lies we are told and believe because we fail to recognize them by using a retired Navy SEAL, sniper, scout sniper, and scout sniper instructor. I fancied myself at a time as being one of the best snipers in the world, certainly one of the best scout snipers in the world, which includes more than shooting, but also skillcraft. Some others would agree. The Coriolis effect is bullshit. The theory is that with the Earth spinning on its axis in a direction of east to have to compensate for the spin of the Earth when shooting in a westerly or easterly direction. When the bullet would reach the target would either have risen or have dropped based on the spin of the Earth. Shooting north and south would be no difference. It wouldn't have an effect. But on a mission, if that were true, I would have to compensate at varying degrees, whether shooting between north and south, or correction, north and east, east and south, south and west, or west to north. Never once did I compensate for the Coriolis. Never once did I compensate for the Coriolis. Never once did I compensate for the Coriolis effect. And we were...
But the brain dead Joe Rogan knows better than the actual snipers, Navy SEAL snipers, making the shots with no difference and no compensation of any kind. No consideration for Coriolis. But look at the religious fervor on Rogan's voice, because he was told that somebody told him they do, and he just took it on blind faith without verifying, like everything about the heliocentric model that he blindly believes in.
Driving nails.
Then why don't pilots make adjustments?
I'm not a pilot. I don't know, but
and you're not a sniper, so you don't know, right? And do you need to be to understand basic logic?
but I do know that when you look at
navigation maps
the
always
film
say,
from the space station,
presume a flat Earth.
when you look at the film from the
flat
space
surface.
station, you see an Earth that's not just round but spinning.
I see the space station, the International Space Station is actually not high enough to see curvature, and what you're seeing is the lens distortion. And
It's not high enough to see curvature when you
it's
look out into the horizon.
It's actually even it's very, very close to the.
Let's look at footage from the space station of Earth. So when you see satellite images that are taken of the Earth, you think they're lying? You think there's this grand conspiracy to piece all these pictures together?
And again, he just immediately goes to these straw men, false dichotomy, circular reasoning, false premise, red herring logical fallacy stacks, which is semi-impressive to stack them. And he still can't stack 11 in a row. Like, a certain anti-flat earther we all know.
Toasty! Toasty! Toasty!
Shout out Craig. Craig can stack 11. I think he has the world record of logical fallacies in a single statement. So Rogan can't compete with him, but he can get kind of close. I mean, what, he stacked 6 there or some or so?
And
I'm
turn
just
it
saying
into a
that
circle instead
all
of
I'm
have it
saying is
flat?
that's the fundamental conspiracy theory that unravels everyone. And
Well, it doesn't
and-
make
and
any
I'm saying-
sense because
have you-
everything that we see in the cosmos that's a planetary body is round, including stars.
Oh, wow. Now he goes to the appeal to similarity logical fallacy and the false premise logical fallacy and the circular reasoning logical fallacy, as well as the reductive logical fallacy. That was a nice 5-stack there. So again, hallucinating to know that whatever these lights are, to know what the lights are. I mean, just the level of goofery here. Like, look how hard he's trying to not appear triggered. Look at the strain in the Goof's face.
So it's all round, except for small moons. Everything is round, and that's because of
I'm not even certain
that space exists.
that the moon is anything more than a plasma.
A
and s-
plasma.
Yeah,
What does that mean?
that it's
If you don't even know about the the type of matter, that plasma is a form of matter, should you even be having this conversation? Like, he's not, I mean, plasma. I think, is that 5th grade? That's not kindergarten. That's not preschool. I'll give him that. That might be closer to 5th grade.
it's a plasma effect, a lenticular effect of some kind.
So that it's not a real thing, but it affects the tides. It is something that we have
saying
landed, at the very least, we've landed probes on.
We don't.
Wow, look at all those fallacies. Why does he hallucinate? Why does he hallucinate the moon controls the tides? Because somebody told him? Because he looked it up on Google? Because he saw it in a documentary on National Geographic? I mean, how brain dead is this Goof? Tides do not coincide with the location of the moon. This is straight from the National Oceanic Service. This is straight from NOAA.gov. Like, why is he hallucinating that the moon controls the tides? And even if it does, how would that mean that it's a solid object? If it's electrical in nature, it could affect that. Other forces. So right here, suppose if gravitation forces do exist, they do not control when high or low tide events occur. Other forces more regional than the sun or the moon control the tides. So Joe Rogan, like, he's so utterly clueless. He doesn't even verify. Like, he sees these little snippets, these taglines, just like a quick headline, and he just takes it as gospel because he's too mentally deficient to actually read full articles. I mean, just go on oceanservice.noaa.gov/facts/moon-tide.html. This is from NOAA.gov. I mean, he loves to appeal to authorities and bootleg. He loves to bootleg.gov sources. Why doesn't he go on here and look at what the moon allegedly does or doesn't do? I mean, just the goofery of Joe Rogan knows no bounds. Is this humiliation ritual? That's my next question. Is he just intentionally humiliating himself, proving his deficiency as some kind of Illuminati humiliation ritual? Or is he just that dumb?
I don't know that
Other
it affects the
countries
tides.
have ran-
People
So
theorize
this is
that it affects the tides.
footage from the space station. This is live footage.
It's live. Aren't there supposedly tens of thousands of satellites? Where are they? Thousands to tens of thousands? There's not a single one visible there? Now, obviously, some are small. Some are further from the Earth. But, I mean, out of thousands to tens of thousands, there's not a single one visible. You would think there'd be at least, what? At least a few dozen, if not a few hundred. out of thousands upon thousands.
from the space
And
station,
I'm saying that
you can
that's lens,
clearly.
and I'm saying that's lens curvature, and that what you're actually
Why
seeing,
do you think that's lens
and
curvature?
that what you're seeing is horizon.
So what you're talking about is like
I'm saying
a
if I'm
fisheye
trying
lens.
to provoke you, that's what I'm saying.
Right, but let's not do that right now because I don't want you to be completely fucking insane because this is a round body,
Ad hominem and appeal to incredulity.
just like the moon, just like Mars, just like Jupiter, just like Uranus.
That
all
appears
the ones that we,
appears to
Well, he definitely needed to mention Uranus.
be but in your practical life experience, you have to accept a certain amount of faith.
But
is what
this-
I'm getting at
okay.
any moment.
But
that
they
you mu- that you
understand
must-
the precession of
that
the
you have to
equinoxes.
believe.
And Joe Rogan clearly doesn't, because he brings that up all the time. I think he just likes the way it sounds, like a 4-year-old who heard a word they think sounds cool or a phrase. And he just repeats it ad nauseum, but he doesn't actually comprehend what it is or what the scientific method is or what controls are. Because the basis for his alleged understanding is Swiss cheese, because he doesn't understand the scientific method. He's not on a preschool scientific method level.
Okay, do you know that the precession of the equinoxes is how they measure the sky over a period of 26,000 years?
I see right there.
Again, appealing to faith on those 26,000.
A little stitching, like right there.
I just said this would just keep going straight forever.
Do you
or
see
not?
that line?
Yeah,
Do you
that
see that
line.
line right there? What is that?
What is that line?
Yeah, what is that line? Well, that looks like stitching to me. It looks like they've stitched together and it crosses over there through that mountain range right there.
That is weird, whatever that is. But
so by your very example, I'm just saying that you have to have a certain amount of faith in that. And on the surface, mundus vult decepi.
well, okay. You,
I mean, what's next? They're going to bring up ghost photographs and say, look, you could see the ghost. Clearly, it's the dead person in ethereal form. It can't be anything else.
freaking me out. Go back to that, Jamie. So what is the explanation? Go back a little
Yeah,
bit.
what is the explanation of that line right there?
I don't know.
Right, but how weird is that? That is weird that there's this line.
Right,
that's
because
very
that
clear.
in itself is a composite image, a cartoon that has been put together for you to look at this apparent live imagery that is being taken. And
is this multiple images that are supposedly pieced together? Is that what they're...
I'm saying that things fall into, like, the way perspective works is that things appear to fall into the horizon. But now you use what is that camera? Is it a P200 camera where you can actually zoom in and lift things out of the horizon that have appeared to fall into the horizon?
This live video feed from the International Space Station has
been
temporarily
interrupted because you're watching too much.
due to either a change in the onboard camera configuration.
Jackie Chan fan says they save good actors for Batman and stuff. Well, Alex Jones is, of course, the greatest thespian of all time, probably. Thomas says he knows he's not that dumb. It's just how you know he's compromised and has to gatekeep certain topics. I'm not convinced. I mean, I don't know. Yes, sometimes it appears he knows and he's being intellectually dishonest, but other times he really does appear to be that dumb. I don't know. Real Worlder with an interesting question here. Can you bounce lasers and radar off a hologram? That's a great question. One, it would depend on the nature of the hologram and the laser, right? But if it's not a hologram, if it's actual plasma, can you bounce laser off of plasma? How many tests have been done on that? So, plasma, being an ionized gas with free electrons and ions, can interact strongly with electromagnetic waves like laser light. When a laser beam encounters a plasma, several things can happen depending on the plasma's density, temperature, and the laser's wavelength and intensity. So the answer is yes, you can. It can refract or scatter or absorb or reflect and bounce it back. So it depends on the density of the plasma, the temperature, and the laser's wavelength and intensity. Does that answer? This is all mainstream, by the way. This is all just basic physics. You can empirically verify this in any encyclopedia. Any science website. Does that answer your question? Who asked that? That was a really good question, though. Real worlder. Because that is a good question, but let's continue.
Or a loss of signal with the communications network. The video will return when the connection is reestablished. So this is during the live feed?
This isn't from NASA's YouTube channel. It's just down right now.
It's just down right now. Okay, so you're saying that this is like a fisheye effect of a lens,
Yeah, I'm saying
potentially.
I'm saying that, and that we can even see that whenever they're up there shooting with cameras outside, you're like, oh, there's
But do you know how many
there's the
people-
curvature, and then every now and then the camera turns and it inverts for a moment, then it goes back down.
I've never
And
seen that.
I watch a lot of NASA.
Yeah, Joe Rogan talking on all these topics, yet he's never seen the most basic thing that gets posted every day. Also, who thinks... Well, to go back to what the cutout stream, so they have tens, hundreds of billions of dollars. They can't even maintain a live feed. And Joe Rogan still puts blind faith in them. If there really are all those tens of thousands of satellites, thousands to tens of thousands, they can't even maintain a feed.
Stuff. And listen, I'm not saying that we're not living on a globe, or at least an oblate spheroid, as Neil deGrasse Tyson says, but have you ever noticed how spasticated that guy gets whenever you throw out the word flat earth? He flips out like the way Robert De Niro flips out on like irrationally he flips out.
He flips out when you say that men can't be women.
So did Joe Rogan not realize that he just gave away the ghost there? If Joe Rogan is alleging that Neil deGrasse Tyson flips out over what he knows is easily demonstrably true, but he's pretending it's not, like, does Joe Rogan not realize what he just did? I mean, I don't know if he was attempting to do a diversion fallacy, but did he not realize what he just did? Because if the argument is Neil deGrasse Tyson flips out over anything that's true, but he's pretending is not true, that he just gave credence to Avery's flat earth position.
Which is very weird.
Yeah, exactly.
And that they should be able to compete in women's sports, which is very weird.
But who thinks Joe Rogan's just dumb and he didn't realize what he just did? Who thinks Joe Rogan's attempting to spam a diversion fallacy, but he just gave it all away right there? Unless people are actually arguing this goof is highly intelligent and playing 5D chess, and he did that on purpose because he's really promoting flat earth while pretending not to promote flat earth.
It's a very,
like for a man of science, that's bonkers.
or that they should be able to go to jail, and that a sex offender,
fucking
who has
insane.
been,
Not just that, but rapists.
who
like people
is
have
then put
raped
in jail
children,
with women, and it's
then
like,
they have to pay for their electrolysis and breast augmentation, which is okay. At what point in time do you say that this is some sort of a bizarre agenda that you're trying to get us to accept something that doesn't make any fucking sense? So much so that you're willing to house male prisoners in with females because they say they're a male with an intact penis?
Liquid Quasar just saying Joe trying to change the subject desperately. Yeah, maybe it's just that. Maybe it's just that. But the way he did that was just so obvious. I mean, it's just whack. Scott Hawkins says, as soon as they pointed out that weird crease, the NASA feed was cut. Weird. Well, it actually, doesn't it cut a lot? Like, back in the day, people used to just watch their streams for hours on end. And apparently it cuts out a lot.
Penis? And then even if they get, like, female prisoners pregnant or rape them?
we're all just trying to construct what reality is, and it tends to be a consensus of what it is. But, you know, there are fringes that on the ends that don't believe with what the consensus
I
says.
understand.
I like how Avery didn't allow the diversion. He steered him right back.
Are they
But-
wrong?
But do you
Or-
know how many people would have to be involved
And again, with the straw man false premise stack.
to promulgate this idea that there's a flat Earth and you got to cover up that thing and pretend it's round? And what's the motivation of?
And now appeal to motive, the silliest one. I mean, it's like a record here, because Eddie Bravo already demolished him on this. And Rogan, here's another possibility. Is Rogan legitimately mentally disabled? and he's not able to actually learn new information because he just goes through like the same circuit every time. Like if you see a dead body, even with a murder weapon and a CCTV and a witness, if you can't figure out the motive, that means that person's not dead and a crime did not occur. That's what Rogan's pushing here.
Covering up the fact that
the
the
motive
Earth is flat.
I mean, if we're really fundamentally getting down to it, it's about God. And it's about what is this realm that we're in, and are we part of creation? And
But why would it be more likely God if it was flat?
Every culture throughout recorded history draws us in this kind of flat, earthish environment with a dome, a firmament that covers it up until like when the 1930s or so.
Right, when they start making telescopes.
They started making telescopes in the 1930s, Joe Rogan? What?
Well, and
right? I mean, so this is a grand conspiracy? Like Galileo was wrong, Copernicus was wrong, all these people didn't know?
All of recorded history is wrong.
You mean the Jesuits? The Freemasons and the Jesuits are all wrong, according to Joe Rogan. Not to mention, how do you even know that happened? And here we have Avery trying to stick to controls and learning from history. Why would you put blind faith in history where the majority of humans were wrong about the majority of things the majority of the time? But look at the religious reverence. Joe Rogan has so much religious reverence for the cult of authority worship and scientism. He looks like he's exhausted by the blasphemy. Like, he doesn't have the mental capacity to engage logically. Look at him. He got exhausted just from trying. Like, look how exhausted the goof looks. He looks like he just went 10 rounds.
And, I mean, the other option is that we are just specks of nothing floating around in an endless, vast nothing that goes on forever, and that you are completely insignificant, that you are not God's perfect creation, which I think you are.
Well, they're not mutually exclusive. You know, just because we are in this vast cosmos that's almost impossible for our mammal minds to grasp.
And again, just building on those false premises, reductive false dichotomy, and circular reasoning logical fallacy stacks. All he has is these houses of cards that he just keeps appealing to.
The magnitude of it doesn't mean that God's not real.
It's exclusive to people who believe the Bible word for word. I'm not saying I do necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
I am. I would be considered apostate, by most people.
I've been reading the Bible a lot, and one of the problems that I find is it's clearly got the hand of man on it.
Well, it's been edited.
Yeah.
And he's just trying to spam more diversion fallacy.
It's been edited. The King James, or who was King James? He wrote Bible. He wrote books on demons as well. And so, who was?
Well, even the Old Testament. Actually, the Old Testament has the hand of man on it. Not just that, but it's also been translated so many different times. Like ancient Hebrew, the letters double as numbers. There's no numbers in ancient Hebrew, so words have numerical value to them. And, imagine translating such a complex language where, like, the word God and the word love, they have the same numerical value. I believe.
Well,
here's another thing. I read that. I don't know if it's true. So let me.
Yeah, you don't know if anything you read is true, especially the heliocentric model and everything that goes into it, and whether or not snipers calculate for Coriolis. Like, the goofery of Joe Rogan here, but he appears to be not as triggered by the Bible as by flat Earth. So all of a sudden, he's saying he doesn't know if so and so is true. But when it came to all the flat Earth points, somehow he knows all that is true.
We find out if that's true. Put that into perplexity.
There's a lot of weird stuff in the Bible. In Genesis, when
how about the
Nephilim come down and they find women comely, and so they're like, okay, what's actually going on there? These angels, or Nephilim, are coming down, and they're taking women from men and having sex with them, and then creating hybrid offspring.
When Representative Anna Paulina Luna was here, she told me about the Book of Enoch. She's like, you have to read that. Have you ever read it? I go, no. So I read it.
Have you seen The Carpenter's Son, the
fuck.
Nicolas Cage movie?
No.
incredible.
What did I just have you look
That's what I
up
was
though
trying to-
before I lose my train of
The
thought?
King James Bible thing.
What?
That's what I was trying to ask specifically. Which part did you
Oh
want me to ask about?
no,
What
what I asked you was ancient Hebrew. So the letters also double those
the letters
numbers.
double those numbers. That's what
and
that movie
the-
Pi is all about.
and
It's-
that the word love and the word God have the same numerical value. I'm very, very certain that that's true, but I want to really double check.
well,
because-
numerology exists around us everywhere, and everything. It seems to have a kind of, and that's what the
When's the last time you saw Joe Rogan make that gesture there?
So the letters also double those
the letters
numbers.
double those numbers. That's what
and
that movie
the-
Pi is all about.
and
It's-
that the word love and the word God have the same numerical value. I'm very, very certain that that's true, but I want to really double check.
well,
because-
numerology exists.
Look at just the face palm. Because Joe knows he's so intellectually outclassed. Not just outclassed, but a guest that won't be bullied. He's just completely shutting down Rogan's goofery at every turn. The only thing better would be if he specifically called out the fallacies, because then Joe would just, like I'm doing, just to objective, so everybody can see objectively how utterly clueless Joe Rogan is. And also ask Joe Rogan what the scientific method is and how to apply it. Because who thinks, if he's acting, then he'll know. But if he truly is dumb, like, does he know what independent and dependent variables are? Does he know what controls are and why they're important?
everywhere, and everything. It seems to have a kind of, and that's what the Aronofsky film Pi was kind of all about. Is that
was a great movie.
Yeah, it's a
There was also
he's a very interesting film.
A really fascinating statement by this mathematician. We talked about it on a recent podcast. Was that how strange is it that we find out that the universe is made out of math and that it's encoded in the universe itself? So a tool that we used, that human beings created to measure the universe, it turns out that tool is how the universe is actually encoded.
Well, this gets back to what Elon is saying about the world being a simulation.
Uh-huh.
I mean, what is a simulation? A
So
simulation
it says
is a,
no in ancient Hebrew, whatever that word is, gematria. No direct name of God shares the exact same numerical value as the word for love. So what is the basis of that rumor? Sacred name equals 26. A name for God equals 86.
Mm-hmm.
Just spamming diversion fallacies now to try to keep away from flat Earth.
Okay. What is the value? What is the ancient Hebrew? The values.
from the Nordics is the same thing, and there is a striking resemblance between many of the runes with Hebrew. And so these ideas and these glyphs and symbols that Odin first saw while hanging upside down from the tree and learned language and how to speak are somewhat universal across the planet.
Let's get to that for a second, but let's find out what Jamie's saying. Primarily used in Jewish mysticism and religious studies to find hidden spiritual meanings in. I mean, doesn't it? It seems like if you can understand that, and if you grew up with that, that seems like that would be a much richer and deeper way of communicating.
Isaac Asimov wrote a book called Asimov Around. If the village is empty and things like that. And so, just different people are just trying to figure out how to articulate everything. And, computer programming is a language that utilizes. Chinese are building highways for.
So that image might not have been an official image. That might have been something that someone created.
I'm not saying that. No, well, let me retract words aren't taken out of context. I'm just saying it seemed like a live video. It was live on YouTube.
Oh, but it could have been AI.
I don't know
horseshit.
I have to go back to look at the
Right.
I'm working fast over here.
No, I get it, dog. I get it.
That's why
Jamie, you do the job of 15 dudes, so I appreciate
I
what
found
you
a
do.
video from 11 years ago on Vimeo that is from SpaceX, so it's not NASA, it's someone else, and it's up and down of the rocket. You can argue all day that it's got curvature. It doesn't have curvature.
When you see a rocket launch, what does it do? It goes kind of sideways across the sky. And so, we've now seen that, pretty regularly, and that's because they're really not going above the troposphere, which.
Well, I watched the SpaceX launch live. I was there. It went straight up in the air.
And then it curves and it travels sideways across the sky until
Well,
it meets
gets
the horizon.
to a certain orbit, and then it traveled and dropped off.
That's That's exactly what he just said. Oh man, Joe Rogan, the goof contrarian. I mean, is he not on a preschool English level? I mean, this stuff is hard to watch.
In Australia, 35 minutes later, I went
But
to the
out of your view.
commands. No, I watched the entire thing.
He watched it go to Australia? What? He watched it with his naked eye?
On
From the
video.
command center. I watched it from like 24 different cameras.
But how high did
live.
it go? Did it go above the troposphere? Not likely. Like this is
What
not
is
above
the
the
troposphere?
This is like
what? How many miles is that up?
this is low Earth orbit where.
Right. But at low Earth orbit, Jesus Christ, that looks like a globe, huh?
But watch as the camera rotates. Just
This is also an edited video. I don't want to get stuck in this.
right.
fucking
Like
space.
this.
He probably thinks, like, what does he think the size of the globe is when he watches, like, the Red Bull, the Bumgardner jump, where it was just as curved when it was sitting on the ground? Like, but is just Rogan that dumb? He doesn't understand how lenses work? I mean, is he that mentally deficient?
As Elon would say, it's real because it looks fake, or when it looks fake, that's when you know it's real.
Say that about Bigfoot then, bitch. Because Bigfoot looks fake as fuck, and it's
Yeah.
definitely not real.
Well, how would he know? I mean, there's so many videos. There's photos. What about all the photos, as he says? There's so many photos. I mean, there's a whole Hollywood movies. But the Patterson-Gimlin footage looks incredibly real. Does that mean it's fake?
You know what's real? That Turkish sharpshooter. That dude was a G up in the corner. Press play. See what this is supposed to be.
It cuts.
It cuts.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I see. I see.
Yeah, it's
So
a
it cuts
highlight
a
video
bunch of
the
different
live
images.
stream.
See, now you can actually see an inversion occurring on the
Well, you're
horizon
only
right
seeing
there.
A small piece of it.
Correct, but the lens just
Small piece of it? You mean like the whole globe? You only see a piece of it. All of a sudden, it's a small piece. When it shows the opposite of what he's thinking, it's a small piece. Oh, man, you can't make this stuff up.
distortion on the side of the frame is causing the horizon there
To go the opposite
to
way.
to invert, and that's because of lens
Right.
distortion.
I see what you're saying.
If it
it
was-
is.
Where's
And
it
the
go,
fact
though?
of the matter is, even at the
It
height that
doesn't go
even at the
anywhere,
height that
Jamie.
these are
Go.
orbiting at, and I'm not saying like presuming a globular planet, and even the word planet, plane, it's like a plane at or the horizon is horizontal, like even presuming that the height that they're at right now, you would still only see, a circular. You would see
Disc.
the limit of your vision,
Right.
which has a
Because it's so massive.
because it's so massive. You're
Yeah.
still high enough.
Well-
You're still not high enough to truly see curvature.
If we are in a simulation and if consciousness it affects the reality of things and they are only real if we are experiencing them, that's when things get really squirrely.
The testimony of your eyes. Like
Yeah.
I know that I am here right
not,
now. I
Not
know,
just the testimony of your eyes, but your consciousness interacting with reality is what creates it.
correct. I mean,
That's where things get super squirrely.
how do you know gravity exists? For example.
Well, gravity's not clearly defined.
correct.
Right? We
Gravity is
understand the numbers.
gravity is a concept.
Wait, who understands which numbers?
And it's
Right.
a truly non-provable concept because you can prove the exact same thing through density and buoyancy. The density and buoyancy, make a lot of sense. How come the oceans, react the way they do and don't, it's not necessarily provable, but it's believable. You come to a certain point where you're like, okay, faith takes over at this point. My faith in gravity, my faith in the globe, because that's what's been told to me since I was a baby. At a certain point, that just takes over, and you
Not just that,
and you
but
accept
also
that as a fundamental piece of what reality is, because we want to believe we understand the universe. What I'm saying is,
Especially narcissistic goofs who are too mentally weak. They need their safety blanket of experts and all these things because they can't handle living in a reality that where experts don't know what's going on. They're just too mentally weak, like Joe Rogan.
we don't understand jack shit about the universe. We don't know anything. And all we do is we believe what they tell us, and they is just the cumulative understanding of how things are. But in ancient times, they had a different understanding of things, and that was how it was back then. And so, because they had no other way to describe
Right, but
what it
even
was.
then,
so
they
reality is just
built things based on where the sun was going to be during the solar equinox. They also were
Which has what to do with the shape of the Earth?
aware of the precession of the equinoxes, which is the wobble
Yeah.
of Earth's orbit.
What? No. Wait, which ancient civilization had an Earth orbit wobble that believed in a sphere? What is this goof talking about? What is this goof talking about? Like the Mayans with all their predictions and building pyramids with shadows of snakes during eclipses or solstices? Like, that's all based on flat Earth cosmology with a dome. Like, what is Rogan pretending here? I mean, is this goof just mentally gone? I mean, is this goof just completely mentally gone? Literally every single ancient civilization has a flat Earth cosmology with a dome, except the Greeks, which were divided. I went over all of that. They did not believe in a globe. Some of them, they had different scholars with their different schools, and that division went on well into Roman times, according to the official narrative. You can check out Lucretius's On the Nature of Things. Obviously, brain-dead, ignorant goofs like Joe Rogan have never read any of that, so they don't actually even know the real mainstream positions. They're just regurgitating headlines.
So Earth spinning around doesn't spin perfectly. There is a 26,000-year wobble, and you can predict it by the night sky.
and somehow Polaris remains centered.
And again, where's the evidence of the 26,000 years, the prediction, where's the evidence? Joe Rogan just took it all on faith, exactly like Avery just said. But Rogan, I think, was too stupid to even realize what Avery just said. It's almost like he's not even listening.
In the sky, and all stars rotate around it. That's extraordinary. If we're traveling...
What do you mean? So during the precession of the equinoxes over a 26,000-year cycle, Polaris
it has
remains in the exact same spot?
And supposedly that's because that's where we're flying towards as a solar system as we travel through the galaxy,
right, but
in this
with
complex
the precession
dance of
the
planets.
I don't think Rogan even knows the mainstream position on any of this.
Equinoxes, this wobble over a 26,000-year period, it will move in the sky.
Well, the point of Polaris will always remain where it is, directly
the point,
to
but
the
our
north.
perspective of it will vary depending upon where we are in this 26,000-year cycle.
It undergoes a kind of penumbra of sort, a kind of motion of sorts.
It
that's
changes.
Sort of a figure eight
It
motion
changes.
through time.
It changes. Look at it. It says right here. Due to the 26,000-year axial precession cycle, the North Star changes over millennia, while Polaris is the current North Star. Other stars have held this position, including Thuban, 3000 BC, and future stars will include Orion, Alder.
And look at the religious fervor in his voice. It's almost like he has zero doubt that this fantasy is, like, provable in any way. Like, all he has is blind faith, as Avery just pointed out, but he's regurgitating the blind faith as if it's fact. And does he really think a guy like Avery's not going to push back on this when he's been decimating Rogan logically this entire conversation?
Remain, Alderamin, and Vega. So it's not the same star. It's just what is dependent upon where we are in the precession of the equinoxes. That's why.
Well, there
it's
it
not
is.
Not that the Earth is flat.
I know it's
but
true
that
because it's on Google.
But it's not just that. We know where they've
And look how Rogan pretended not to hear that. He just completely continues rolling with his blind faith as if it's fact.
They've been able to accurately predict the motion of the precession of the equinoxes based on the constellations.
Who? Predict how? When? Like, how is any of this verified?
Which are clearly mapped out.
How are they clearly mapped out? Like, does he not understand what the scientific method? He just keeps regurgitating his religious faith. And Avery actually preempted this, which makes Rogan look even stupider, because Avery just called this out, and and Rogan's just proving his point about the faith.
So we understand this wobble, and this wobble.
Again, the collective narcissism of we. He doesn't. Who claims to? And does the scientific method, can they utilize the scientific method to support that?
Wobble may be responsible for cycles of Earth's climate, how things
And now he starts stacking the circular reasoning, logical fallacies, the false premise, and reductive logical fallacies.
Change and be dependent upon where the equator sits and where these poles sit and
Kind of
how
funny
it wiggles around.
Remember when we were younger, the sun was kind of yellow and orange, and now it's just like white? Like,
I'm kind of disappointed in Avery here. He should have really pushed back on that. Like, how do you know any of that? What's the scientific method? How did they prove it? Like, hold the Goof Rogan's feet to the fire here.
reality is changing. I mean,
What?
things change.
The sun looks exactly the same to me.
Does? You
Yeah.
think the sun is the same? To me, it's...
I think
it's-
pollution has affected it somewhat.
Wait, so how is it exactly the same if the pollution affected it? If it looks exactly the same, but now all of a sudden pollution affected it and it doesn't look the same?
Especially if you live in LA.
Well, there used to be more pollution, and so maybe that's an excuse of
Mhm.
why the sun would be more yellow. But I've lived all over the world.
Did you see Epstein talking about gravity?
Oh boy.
Oh, here we
It's
go.
interesting.
Here we
It's-
Hit me
go.
with it. Hit
It's,
me with
it's
it.
not. I don't know. It's very. I'll just say.
What does he have to say?
It's fun. It's only 45 seconds. Try to
I
find
just
it. I'm gonna-
let it go. So someone's pushing the ball, because I know that I am confident that the only thing that gets something to move is with a force that pushes. So there's a force that's pushing the ball down. In fact,
Yeah, it's
he,
called,
he called it gravity. He measured how fast it was pulled, but never was able to explain why it happened. How is it? What is gravity? It's this. Everybody says, well, why did the ball fall to the ground? Because gravity took it. But what's gravity? That's, as Feynman would say, that's the name of the thing we have no idea what it is.
That's the end of that clip. It's real
or it's
long,
just
but
density and buoyancy.
He was really into this topic.
Look how triggered Joe Rogan. Look how triggered the goof is. Look at the goof's face. He's just getting logically eviscerated for hours on end, made to look an utter fool. Wow. Oh, man.
Apparently.
Look at his face. Look at his goof face. Oh, man, because he can't push this guy around. He can't push this guy around. Now, does everybody think, if this is humiliation ritual, does he have the mental acuity to understand how stupid he's being made to look by Avery? Or does he not?
Apparently.
He knew a lot about it.
You know who you should have on is Eric Dubé. Do you know who this guy is?
Oh, he's the flat Earth guy.
Yeah, he's the flat Earth
Yeah.
guy, and he's written a book called 100 Proofs. And in order to prove something, you also have to prove things wrong.
You went down some rabbit holes,
Well,
Roger Avery.
I look, I'm a screenwriter, and so I'm always looking for things
Mm-hmm.
like this to write stuff about. And so it's
So in order to
I
prove,
take it all-
say that
I take
again?
it all-
In order to prove what?
whenever you have a proof, you also have to disprove. And so, he wrote a book called 100 Proofs about, the nature of, the Earth and how it is. And it has explanations for many of the things you're talking about.
Hasn't he debated people that actually understand how you can prove that the Earth is round?
Again, circular reasoning, false premise, logical fallacy, and reductive logic. He's hallucinating and pretending there's people who understand how to prove it, right? Because if they haven't demonstrated they can prove it, how do they understand how to prove something they can't prove?
From the Epstein files, like the potential
To repeat what she did with,
round.
well,
It seems much data, and if
saying that they invented before me.
line in with our understanding.
Rogan experience this guy is.
Oh, he's the flat Earth guy.
Yeah, he's the flat Earth
Yeah.
guy, and he's written a book called 100 Proofs. And in order to prove something, you also have to prove things wrong.
You went down some rabbit holes,
well,
Roger
I
Avery.
look, I'm a screenwriter, and so I'm always looking for things like this to write stuff about. And so it's
So in order to prove,
I take it all-
say that
I take
again?
it all-
In order to prove what?
whenever you have a proof, you also have to disprove. And so, he wrote a book called 100 Proofs about, the nature of, the Earth and how it is. And it has explanations for many of the things you're talking about.
Hasn't he debated people that actually understand how you can prove that the Earth is round?
He does it very calmly, and it infuriates people.
Right, but I don't think he's
actually,
done well.
It's very enjoyable to watch because
But
it's really funny.
But to people that are actual cosmologists, he's not performed.
Again, to the ghost hunter, you didn't do a good job of disproving ghosts. To the ghost hunter. Just the appeal to credentials fallacy. That's like Joe Rogan's favorite. Appeal to authority, appeal to credentials. Because he doesn't have the mental capacity to understand the basics of any of this. So all he can do is foolishly appeal to others because he's not capable of actual logical thought himself.
Well in these.
Well, the cosmologists will say things that still need to be, if you're making statements, they still need to be, you still need to disprove the other, the other proofs. Like,
Right, but there's plenty of people that have disproven that the Earth is flat.
Have they? How did they do that? See, I would just ask Joe Rogan, how did they do that? What is the scientific method?
I'm
With
saying
simple
experiential.
experiments.
The Joe Rogan
Such as, like, what experiments and exactly how? What separates a valid from an invalid experiment? And did the experiment prove what is alleged to have been proved? Like Mickelson Morley, a lot of goofs think it was a null result. It wasn't a null result. I went over that all before. I should have a clip on MINDSHOCK of that. But yeah, just another example of the goofery of Joe Rogan's religious scientism position.
experience throughout life. You are really, like, when you go up into an airplane, I do not see the curvature of the Earth.
Well, you can't because of perspective, because you're so tiny.
Correct, because we're so tiny. So all I'm saying is that through experience, that the testimony of your eyes, you will never experience a globular Earth. You can't.
But you do
you will have
experience
to at
the
a certain point.
effect of a Earth that's a globe.
How so?
If you go to the other side of the Earth and it's dark out when it's sunny in California.
Again, when you have a fundamental lack of understanding of how the scientific method and controls work, or even basic logic, like what is a false dichotomy, he doesn't understand any of this.
They've made models of how that could work on the flat.
Dorks have.
Dorks have made models.
But it doesn't line in with our understanding of cosmology.
Ad hom is all. I mean, he's really throwing in the towel here. White flag has gone up. He had to go to ad hom.
Cosmology. It doesn't line in with our understanding of our orbit.
So yeah, anybody trying to disprove ghosts, I mean, that doesn't line up with the understanding of ghost hunters. So therefore, ghosts have to be real because it doesn't line up with the experts' alleged understanding of something.
That's assuming you believe that we orbit around the sun. And listen, I'm not saying that we don't orbit around the sun.
But
I'm not saying we don't live on a globular Earth.
But the numbers
don't
match.
take me wrong.
But the numbers match. If you do assume that they're correct, that we orbit around the sun, but their calculations are completely accurate.
If they make the calculations on their flat Earth model as well, then you still have to prove that wrong.
Right, but
I would just ask Joe Rogan, what is a false dichotomy? All of the ancients had numbers that match too with flat Earth cosmologies. The numbers match. The prediction of the eclipses and solstices match. Therefore, it's flat Earth, according to Joe Rogan.
So
NASA doing that? Is MIT doing
NASA,
that? No.
Like, of all people to believe, the ones who are digitally stitching shit. And
Are the ghost hunters disproving ghosts? No, therefore it doesn't matter. Just the level of goofery of Joe Rogan's appeals to authorities. I mean, just the bootlicking of scientism and the cult of authority worship. I mean, just Joe Rogan know he sounds this dumb?
That's a government agency.
You went so deep with this, boy.
No, all I'm saying.
Look at that face. Look at that face.
NASA doing that? Is MIT?
Like, of all people to believe, the ones who are digitally stitching shit and saying, that's a government agency.
You went so deep with this, boy.
That is the face of a man defeated. He got logically eviscerated. I mean, look at this goof's face. Who's seen him make this many defeated goof faces in a single podcast before? Yeah, and as far as the numbers matching, that's all post hoc logical fallacies. So they just match them up, and they matched them up afterwards to fit the model. And if it doesn't fit, then they just make stuff up like dark matter.
What I'm saying is my experience.
Mm-hmm.
When I get on the plane later today, and I'm flying back and I look outside, I'm going to see a flat, a flat horizon, a horizontal horizon before me. And when I land, and it's everything else is faith-based.
Well,
That's all I'm saying.
it's not though. It's science based. It's based on data. It's
The
based
word
on our
science-
understanding.
Wait, what does data have to do with science? Again, he just doesn't understand the scientific method. You can bring in a ton of data about all the ghosts and the ghosts' photos. That wouldn't necessarily prove that the ghosts are the undead in ethereal form.
The word science means observation. It
which
means
is
testimony
data, which
of
I'm
the eyes.
talking about the measurements, data.
That data is so far removed, one, from my ability to understand, but from
you can
most people's ability
understand
to understand.
the circumference of the Earth, right? You can understand the
Sure,
numbers, and
sure.
the numbers line up exactly with how much time it would take for the Earth to go around in a day.
Except it doesn't, which is why the Gregorian calendar is actually less accurate than the Mayan. The Mayan calendar needs one adjustment every 52 years. Is it something about there? And then with the modern Gregorian, you got leap year. You got all these adjustments because it's not accurate.
Sure. And
it works.
In what other experiment can you show me where water clings to a spinning ball? Like, that's kind of the classic flat earther thing that they'll ask you. Like, well, show me any other example
show me a
of that.
fucking ball that's 24,000 miles wide.
And the answer to that is gravity. And what he's talking about in that clip that you just showed is gravity is just sort of this idea that we came up with to justify that.
But there's clearly a
And
force that does that,
That's
right?
density.
Just density?
There's, density.
Well, then how come these two things will fall at the same time if I drop them when this is far heavier? How come?
I do not have an answer for that.
Right.
Yeah, those are electric forces. How does he not? Okay, my opinion of Avery just went down. He's studied this and he doesn't understand electromagnetic theories. All matter has the Earth is an electric field, and all matter is electrically charged.
But gravity does, right?
Gravity is, like he said, it's just a measurement. It's a measurement of how things fall.
Right.
He needs to have Austin Whitsitt. Somebody needs to get Austin Whitsitt on the Joe Rogan Experience. I mean, I would do it. But yeah, I'd have to remain. I think he'd probably want me there in person, which definitely wouldn't risk that. But if he wanted to, if he wanted to do it over Zoom or something, I would go on with Joe Rogan, and I would do it. But of course, the powers that be wouldn't want that. For some reason, I mean, I hope he has Eddie on again, and Eddie just destroys him by pointing out the logical fallacies. But Austin Whitsitt would be a good person to answer all those questions.
Right.
And
but measurement...
and the word that they invented, gravity, is just an explanation for how objects are pulled downward.
Right, but those objects...
How come...
if it was just density, wouldn't a heavier object drop faster?
Well, when
There's two balls. There's a bowling ball and feathers dropping in a vacuum, and they're falling at the exact same time.
How weird. Vacuum, no density. They both fall at the same time because of gravity, or whatever the force we call gravity is. But there is some sort of a force that we call gravity that can be measured in a vacuum.
Look how excited they all are.
Yeah, Brian Cox would be pissed if he was here right now. He'd be shitting.
Oh
all
no,
over
he'd
you.
be. I'm not. Listen, I'm not. All I'm saying is that my experience in the world.
Of course, but your experience is based on perspective of being a tiny little thing on an enormous thing.
Correct.
Yeah.
That is correct.
Yeah.
That is correct.
There's a few YouTube channels.
Wait, did you guys catch that? Joe Rogan thinks there's no matter has no density in a vacuum. Let's play that back. Let's listen to this retardation.
How weird. Vacuum, no density.
There's no density in a vacuum? What does he smoke? Does he even know what density is? Not only does the individual matter have density, but the vacuum itself has energy density, measurable mass energy density. Like, what is this goof smoking? I mean, these are fundamentals. These are fundamental concepts. Like, does he think electric forces? I mean, this is just so crazy. I mean, every physical object retains mass and density in a vacuum. I mean, what is this goof smoking? So he doesn't know what the word density means. I don't think he knows what matter is either. He doesn't appear to know what anything is.
They both fall at the same time because of gravity, or whatever the force we call gravity is. But there is some sort of a force that we call gravity that can be measured in a vacuum.
Electric forces can be measured. Electric charges can be measured. This is all known. You don't have to appeal to any kind of magical mass-attracting mass.
Brian Cox would be pissed if he was here right now. He'd be shitting.
Oh,
all
no,
over
he'd
you.
be... I'm not... Listen, I'm not... All I'm saying is that my experience in the world...
Of course, but your experience is based on perspective of being a tiny little thing on an enormous thing.
Correct.
Yeah.
That is correct.
Yeah.
That is correct.
There's a few YouTube channels that have broken down all of those flat Earth ideas too.
A
If you wanted
ton.
to watch those. And
I tried years
the
ago and I gave up.
It
just-
is absolutely a rabbit hole. But what's interesting about it is that if you extract like the faith that you have in these kind of ideas, and you supplement it with the faith of these other ideas, they're exchangeable.
They're only exchangeable if you don't understand the data, and if you
Like Joe Rogan doesn't.
don't understand what's actually been measured, or
Like Joe Rogan.
if you don't understand the path of satellites, or if
Like Joe Rogan.
you don't understand how many different people would have had to lie about this shit
Another fallacy there.
and not achieve the same observational results that all these different space agencies have. That the idea that they're all
Reductive logical fallacy, false premise, false dichotomy, circular reasoning, logical fallacy, diversion fallacy, appeal to authority fallacy, genetic logical fallacy, and appeal to credentials logical fallacy, and post hoc logical fallacy. That one was impressive. That one actually might be able to compete with the one.
Oh, the lie.
That one, you might actually be able to compete
all
with,
in
with Craig. He really might be able to compete with Craig on that. And that wasn't 11 though. What was that? 8? Yeah, not quite there. Not quite there. But that was an impressive one.
Toasty!
Oh wow, we glitching out?
Toasty! Toasty!
Look at Rogan's good face.
collusion that Japan and India and even countries that hate each other, they're all in collusion on this lie.
Yeah, because competing mafias would never, ever have the same position on anything. Just because there's alleged competition, when, like George Carlin once said, you don't need a formal conspiracy when interests converge. So if church or whatever, if demonologists in different countries, they're all lying, they're all in on it. So they're all pretending demons are real when they're not. What? If they all claim demons are real, they're real, according to Joe Rogan.
That the Earth is round.
Well,
it seems much more likely that there's a bunch of people with schizophrenia that think that the Earth is flat.
Now he's hallucinating likelihoods while stacking ad hom logical fallacies because he's waving the white flag so hard. Like he's been eviscerated to such a level that he's just lashing out any way he can to deal with his own mental disability. I mean, this might be actual mental disability if he can't understand these stuff, if he's not acting.
And they make these YouTube videos where they're very compelling because they're articulate and they use great words and they say it all in a nice way without being challenged by real facts along the way.
And now he's pretending to know what real facts are. False premise fallacy, reductive logical fallacy, false dichotomy, and circular reasoning logical fallacy.
By someone who actually has studied this their whole life.
Right.
And another genetic and appeal to authority, appeal to credentials, logical fallacy. If demonologists have been studying their whole life, or ghost hunters have been, if they've been ghost hunting their entire life, that means ghosts are real because they've done it their whole life, according to Joe Rogan.
I still saw digital stitching on your example.
Yeah, it wasn't my example. It was some shit Jamie randomly pulled offline. That was weird, though. And that's perfect for this world that we live in, to have sort of a glitch like that.
But that's kind of what I'm getting at, is there's so much
look.
out there is so much out there that it just it falls to faith. And it also, what does it really matter? That's kind of what I'm getting.
The fact that Joe Rogan's faith in scientism is being called out, you could hear how much that's him, because he knows it's true. His faith in the corrupt, infallible and corrupt humans has been exposed as the faith that it is. And you could hear in that groan, he can't handle it because it's so true, and he's too stupid to be able to counter that with anything.
At ultimately is, what does all of that really matter? What does it matter to anybody that there's a cabal of 8,000 plus people who are secretly controlling the world and doing occultism and drinking baby blood? What does it really matter as long as you can just have your daily pint?
This is a very different subject now. We've shifted. You've moved away from the concept of the Earth being flat,
And again, it goes into that hands under arms posture and the hunch and the triggering.
It's a giant lie that's promoted by a huge group of people that aren't even connected in any way, shape, or form to evil people that are involved in cult-like rituals, which has, by
because they would never deceive people about the shape of the Earth, right, Joe Rogan?
the way, always existed. And this is why it's very difficult for people to imagine.
Just like the flat Earth cosmology has always existed. Yet they're so different.
Today, that some of the things that you're hearing from the Epstein files.
So that's actually a false premise fallacy, because he's pretending it's a non-congruent argument logical fallacy, because he doesn't understand any of the fallacies or basic English, really. So, like, he's so deficient. He's pretending they're not related when they're directly related concepts, even if they're both untrue or one is true and the other is not true.
It's like the potential that they were eating children or killing children, or that they use that sulfuric acid to boil bodies. We don't want to believe in evil that is that deep. But in my opinion, if you can find out that
Radar says, maybe Joe is like this because he actually knows what's true and he's frustrated because he doesn't want to defend the globe, but he has to. Maybe. I don't see that good acting here, because with all the Freudian slips, the micro expressions, the body language, I don't know. I don't think he's that good.
evil is real, right? Evil most certainly is real. There's evil acts that we have documented all throughout the world. There's evil that the cartel does. I just watched a video where the cartel chopped this guy's head off and put it on a drone and flew it over to where the...
So that's the kind of stuff he wants to watch. Interesting. But he won't read Epstein documents. So he won't read words in a document, but he'll watch videos like that.
Other cartel was
They
to
probably
show
thought that
them.
was funny. They probably thought it was funny.
Having a good time. That's clearly evil.
Yeah.
There's plenty of
Do you
evil.
believe in demons?
I believe in the concept of demons.
I mean, demons
I don't
materialize.
Why would the demonologist be lying? I mean, look at this goof's face. I mean, this guy's mentally gone.
Before us necessarily. They rest upon the...
You do not know what you are talking about. This is not gain of function.
Peter Proud remembers his...
What was that?
It does the exact same thing, but it does it like if... I know, that's the crazy thing, is that it was so easy for me to get that going and so difficult for me to get a...
Account asking.
But he's like, fuck AI, fuck AI. But all it is visual effects.
Mm-hmm.
And I have experience like with that Beowulf movie doing it. And what used to be $1 million a minute is now $5,000 a minute. And so to do it really, really well, like it looks kind of amazing, actually. And so I think for independent cinema and for the future of film and television production, these are super exciting times.
All right, Roger, we just burned through 3 hours plus.
Really? Oh, my God.
Yeah, it's already 4
I
o'clock.
figured this out just so I can share it with you. All right, so what I pulled up is...
Look how desperate they are to go back to Flat Earth to discredit it. I mean, look at the sheer desperation of Jamie.
This is NASA, right? This is
Let me just explain
proper
real quick.
NASA.
Let him
So
talk.
this is a FAR TV. They're pulling in multiple feeds. There's 3 different boxes at the bottom. As you can see, this one in the middle says offline. So as I showed you also, I pulled up the NASA feed, which is this. It says it's offline. When that is offline, this channel adds a 3D model showing where the satellite currently is so that you can still follow along.
And see, this is backfiring so hard on these goofs because remember how with religious fervor, Joe Rogan insisted it was real and you could see the curvature? It's only a model. So the goofs, they can't even tell the difference between what's a model and what's real. Now, I don't know if they're smart enough to realize they just proved Avery's point, but let's see what happens.
30 minutes ago, it wasn't offline and it was showing a different feed. And I wish I could have showed it to you then, but I didn't interrupt. So
Got it.
there is a Flat Earth YouTube or a Reddit account asking this exact thing. What is that? And the people on the Flat Earth Reddit gave me the answer.
Yeah, those
The compromised fake Reddit.
So
the crazies. The
Yeah.
crazies have come out to.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
there you go. So that was what that was.
So is Jamie trusting Reddit now?
Well, I'm glad we put that to.
So it just says the video description switch to a simulation with the ISS above the Earth when the connection is.
And Joe Rogan was too stupid to know that that was a simulation. So he thought it was real. Like he thinks everything is real.
Lost, aka offline.
Yeah, I was going to point that out because you can see the
Okay.
stars in there, and you can't normally
Yeah.
see the stars while you can see Earth.
I'm
Got
glad
it.
we can be comforted by at least one thing that is secure and stable in our understanding of
comforted.
reality.
Roger, that was very fun, though. Thank you very much. Let's do this
Really
again.
a pleasure.
Yeah, I think he really wants to do that again. Did you see the look?
It was a lot of-
I-
it was a good time.
Really super pleasure.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate
He's so glad that's over. The goofery, that is. Joe Rogan. Final thoughts here. This was a long one. This was almost 3 hours. Chilster Deluxe says pure triggered to the max. Yeah, a lot of goofs out there. So yeah, very, very telling here. The goof Joe Rogan. Nothing but faith and fallacy. Hope everybody enjoyed another edition of MindShock Live Q&A in the realm of flat earth discussion. Catch you guys next time.